This conference will now be recorded.
Block and a half.
For Friday night,
From Friday night to Saturday.
it's gonna stay in the same spot.
Oh, I got way too many
Move a
things.
little bit.
Block and a half.
Block and a half.
But I did give us out
So we gotta call somebody
one
in.
executive session with the fire. Or we can just see what else. Who says what?
Whatever you wanna do. I didn't need to know, because I had to bring somebody in for 4 hours.
We trained him and filled him
Okay,
before.
where's the rest of
He only had one other.
Well, sure, you know, Jack, I think it's last year.
Okay, what's up?
All right, ready? Call the meeting to order. First thing is a pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First, you want to do the thing? First item on the agenda is a public hearing, local law, amending village code at chapters 160 entitled Knox. Is there anybody for the public hearing?
My name is Maureen Hawley. I live at 109 Main Street, Owego. I tried to get information about this before the hearing and I didn't get any return calls. So I was kind of hoping to learn what it's about. I was able to pick this up. I'm just kind of wondering how we got here. You know, how did we get to developing this law? Had something prompted it? Is it the development of these larger buildings? Because when I look at the law, though, it's pretty broad reaching. You're basically talking about every commercial and apartment building in the village. So that's a pretty expansive coverage. I'm wondering, are there other municipalities that have been doing this that we can look at their experiences? I did Google searches trying to see if any of the municipalities around here were doing this. I wasn't finding that they were. That doesn't mean they're not. So again, another question. I'm wondering about who has the keys. This appears this is just for our fire department, which I believe are all volunteers. So there's a level of concern. Who has these keys? Again, when you Google this and see this, there's been clearly issues with these boxes in other areas. I'm not saying that our fire department isn't trustworthy, but having keys around, I live in an apartment. It concerns me a little, again, not knowing or understanding because I don't really have the information on it. I'm wondering who pays for this. Is this yet another thing that comes back down, to us as village residents, or is the fire department paying, or is the village paying? I don't know. And I'm wondering, so this is making it compulsory. Again, when I did a Google search, I found that many of the municipalities in New York State and really throughout the United States offer it as a program within their fire departments. And the fire departments have pretty nice websites. They talk about the benefit, why you might want this, why it can be helpful, why it might be a useful thing, and they offer it as a program within their department. So I'm wondering if we've considered that at all. Looking at the law, I mean, I have to make a guess that it might have been replicated from somewhere else. They're talking about USBs. Who use USB drives anymore in blueprints of a building? So I just have a lot of questions that I'm hoping someone will be able to answer. And again, my primary point, have we considered, not making this compulsory? But if it's a good thing and people recognize it as such, they could go to the fire department as a program.
Okay. I mean, they're all good comments.
I'm sorry?
They're all good comments. How we got here? Yeah, well, yeah, Jeff can answer how we got here.
Okay, how are you?
Good, how are
I'm
you?
Jeff Mitchell from the police department. So I'm the one that's,
I tried to contact you, yeah.
I've got a voicemail, anything?
Yeah, I
Okay.
emailed, yeah. Yeah, because I was told you, so that's where I went, and
Okay, I don't know. I didn't get an email, but anyways, I'm courtesy of the fire chief, I have some of the information
great.
that you're looking for. So the Knox Box program is is very common. It's actually in the New York State Fire Code, and it allows the emergency services units to gain entry into the building without doing damage, okay? So this is a particular Knox box that's mounted in an ambulance, a fire truck, or a police car. And this is the particular one that would be in a public safety vehicle. The ones that get mounted to the building, the shell is pretty much the same, and it has a hinged door with a very specific key. The key is key coded. So this key will only work in the Village of Owego Knox box system, okay? The key box is mounted on the outside of the building, and inside of it, they put a set of keys that allows us to gain entry into the building to access people. So in the last year, and what I had talked to the board about in regards to this is, we've had med calls in apartment buildings where we can literally see the patient, we have to break something. We have to break a door, break a window. Some of these doors are $1,500, $2,000 doors. We're kicking in on these really nice homes. We had a fire on North Avenue last year, tried to break in. I'm a firefighter. I've been a firefighter for years. I know how to get into buildings very quickly. The only way through the door was through the window. I took my baton, it took me 50 strikes of my baton to make a hole that big so I could stick my baton in and actuate the door, because I had required safety glass on the door. So that was about 10 minutes of breaking things, a little less, probably about 5 minutes of breaking things to get in, to get into the fire, okay? So the way the system works is, and the town of Vestal does have these, there's several other major municipalities that run them. The property owner is responsible for mounting this. It's the way the building code looks at it, it's kind of like the cost of doing business, because it's a trade-off. When I was the chief in Endwell, of the Endwell Fire Department, it was, if I had to break into a building, I ended up paying, or somebody ended up paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a door. This Knox box is about $265, and it'll last you probably the life of the building. The nice thing about the Knox box is there's an integrity system with it. As you can see, this is the actual box that will be mounted in the public safety vehicles, and the key is locked in here. It cannot be taken out until this is connected to electricity, and a person with an approved code is able to access the Knox box. In the police, fire department, and the ambulance squad, all of our vehicles are under camera surveillance. So if somebody should go in the middle of the night and they attempt to get in here and they don't have the proper code, they're not going to make access. So we would have them coming in on camera. We would be able to tell that somebody tried to access the box, and we have them exiting on camera. If the person is approved has a proper code, they can enter the code. The Knox box key is turned and released. It's taken out. It's accessed into the Knox box. It's mounted on the building. They obtain the keys to enter into the building. They do whatever we have to do for public safety. The key is then brought back. The building keys are returned into the secure Knox box. This key then goes back in and is locked. This particular Knox box system, I'm not sure where it is. It's on this a little different. But it's on the back side. When you open this plate, there is a computer chip inside. So this computer chip is date and time stamped, and it tells me every keystroke that goes on here. So I can tell if somebody's trying to access the box and they were unable to, and if somebody did access the key, what key code was used. Everybody that's authorized to have it, and not every member of the fire department or the ambulance squad will have access to that, right? But we can tell who accessed the key. We can tell how long they had the key out of the box when it was returned. Again, it's under camera surveillance in all the stations of public safety here in the Village of Owego, and we have the computer backup. So every, say, 3 to 6 months, depending on how much they're used, we would just take a laptop computer, we'd open up the face of the box, connect the computer to it, and data dump all the information down. So if anybody had a burglary in their house and there's no forced entry and there's a question of integrity, we have the camera and the key security integrity to allow us to say, yes, this is an issue that we need to address, or no, it isn't. Let's say Endwell's had them for 12 years or a little bit more. The town of Vestal has them on all their commercial buildings. You go to any of the major cities, you're gonna see them. They're very, very common. You just don't know what they are. It just looks like a little box. Most of them have a little flat door that you lift up and put this key in. So there's a redundant security system here in the village because of the cameras and the integrity chip that's in here. The reason why we look for the thumb drive is all public safety vehicles that have mobile data terminals have at least one USB port. So if we're going to a school shooting or whatever, we can just take that thumb drive out, plug it into our computer, and up comes the building blueprint plans. So if we're trying to negotiate through a school in an active shooter, we have a fire or bomb threat, we can sit there, the police officer can actually print the blueprints right out of his patrol car.
So this law, though, is just applying to the fire department. It doesn't speak to police or EMS.
I believe it talks to public safety, right?
No, it says the fire department.
It just says the fire department? Okay. So the fire department's the primary ones that have used them, but they can be installed if the village board chooses. They can install them in the police and in fire and EMS vehicles also.
Can I ask questions? Is that okay? Does Vestal and Endwell, do they require it of all commercial and apartment buildings, or is it a program that they offer within the department?
It's required by the building code. There's provisions that the code enforcement officer can mandate it simply by the stroke of his pen, saying that we require these. So we actually have 3 of these boxes have been mounted on buildings already. They've been here for a couple of years. In Endwell, the owner of the building is asked to provide for the box. So the Knox Box company has a pre-printed form. It has the proper key code. So the business owner fills it out. It has the Endwell key code or the Village of Owego key code, whichever we're talking about. It's already pre-printed on the form. The owner picks the form, picks the type of box they want. Most of the boxes are hardened, armored boxes that just mount with like lag screws on here. There is ones that you can build into masonry. There's a couple different options. They run around $265 is the last one that I saw, but I haven't looked at the pricing in a couple years. So it'd be the owner's responsibility to mount it to the building. Then the fire department, who would have access to the key, who's ever going to run the program, would receive a call from the property owner. We have our keys and our thumb drive ready. If there's even building plans available. We'd like to see them. If they're not, they're not. And then they would come over, install the keys into the box, lock it up. And now the next time somebody goes in that, not even the building owners have the keys. You have to have somebody from the public
So
safety.
keys change often. So there is a maintenance requirement, but.
Right, and just like you have now as a building owner, you have to get the keys changed. It'd be the fire department that would come over, or codes, or whoever that gets assigned that task, that would have to come in, unlock the key, open the Knox box, change the keys out, and put them in. So somebody would come over and just do the change out. It literally takes 5 minutes to change a set of keys out.
So have we considered it as not a requirement, but if it's such a great idea, and I see many, many, many benefits to it. We just keep adding expenses, I just have a fear, 15 years down the road, it's like, what are these boxes? How did we get here?
Well, I mean, it's a cost of doing business, and it's, in an emergency under exigent circumstances, most public safety agencies don't pay for the damage they do. When they go to a fire, they break the door. It comes under your homeowner's insurance if you want to break it, and we have to get in. If you have the Knox box, we can do less damage. And if we see smoke or there's no key holder available to get into the businesses on Lake Street, the fire department can go in, check the thing, come back out, and there's a record of them entering, them exiting, and it can be downloaded and preserved.
Mr. Winchell doesn't have those kinds of answers. If you look at other alternatives, those are for the village board. All he is presenting you the facts of the thing. All the rest of it is not his.
No, but I appreciate it, thank you.
So we kind of sort of have a voluntary program now, because there are 3 or 4 of those in the village, right?
Bank President has one, right? Bank President, I've got the list of the ones that have it.
So, I mean, there are things here.
And it is handy in the middle of the night, trust me, it is.
So just as I read it, I see concerns, because a lot of what I'm hearing is from a police perspective, and I get it. I get all of those concerns, but just when I look at the nitty-gritty of the law, doesn't say anything about
Yeah.
those type of emergencies.
And as far as, where the law came from, it was a sample or,
Right,
cookie cutter kind of thing.
Right.
It's- Can be tailored. So those are all things we can talk
Wording
about.
needs to be modified.
again, I see it as, it concerns me. It's one more added expense that they just keep going up and up. There is a maintenance issue involved in it. You did answer the security, which, I assume these are in the fire trucks too, because that's really what this pertains to. So that makes me feel more comfortable, certainly. So just looking for the information.
Very good.
Yes, thank you very much.
Do we have any other public hearing?
There's also already a law on the books in the village that all landlords especially who are outside the village, have to have someone in the village listed with the village as a contact for situations like that.
Yeah, I don't mean to try and contact whoever's listed as the field. Everybody's in the village all the time, I guess.
Of course not. It's not enforced.
Public hearing on the Knox-Box law. Somewhere between 15 and 20. What up all the old numbers?
Yes, is required.
So we can have discussion on that as a board now or not?
Do have a couple questions that, even as a business owner, are floating around my head.
Yeah.
Number one, there's a problem with vandalism in the village. Who's liable when somebody smashes that out of my building and takes it, then subsequently breaks in or whatever? Because we get in Marvin Park, people are jerks sometimes, that's what it is. And that is one of my major concerns, because I own a business and a house, which obviously my house would not be affected, but this would be. Then the other one was, what about banks or institutions with like sensitive information? I mean, there's always that risk of information being put out for whatever reason. Unfortunately, some people are unscrupulous. Then the other one was like, thought a little bit with more the anxiety that it might put upon our residents as far as some people have triggers, like knowing that the keys are out there. I mean, people have a bunch of different personalities, I guess is the best way to put it. I mean, that is one of my other concerns. Then the last one was, keep saying the property was responsible for mounting, who's responsible for purchasing? Is that still the property owner or?
That's what Jeff said.
Yeah. Supplying. You should be purchasing and mounting it.
Strictly from a village point of view, the liability issue is my major concern from a village. Like, we can't keep the bathrooms safe in Marvin Park. How are we gonna keep people from smashing these off buildings that they really wanna get in? That's all I got.
Go, Laura, go.
I have some comments to say about it. When I looked it over, it looked very broad in the writing, that it wants as written, as a property owner, you have to provide keys to all the locked spaces in the building. It doesn't limit it to basic entries of units or utility spaces and stuff that kind of, as written, includes very broad, unlimited access. And the prices, I looked up the Knox-Box pricing, and the lowest one I saw was just still over $500. And they had different kinds that could go on the exterior or, be recessed into the buildings, but there's different sizes and I I think as it's written, with every business having to have it, and then every place that has over 3 units in it, where we are in our village with all the old spaces, maybe it's written for like a bigger city, but we have these old houses that have been divided out, and the doors are, off of old porches, and they're not really set up as a big apartment building. And so I think it's a really expensive cost for property owners, and if somebody's gonna call them up or unlock the box and get in, I think in those situations, we might rely on what we've always relied on, like our eyes, if there's a fire, and the nose, and like all the activity that's going on. Break the door or knock on the doors and do all the things that are already happening. And would it really save anybody? Would it save a lot of time for a fire? Because that's what it's written for. It's not written for EMS to be able to enter the building or the police. It's just written for the firemen. Insurance covers if there is a fire and firemen break the door, do all the things to get it out, the insurance will cover it. And I don't think the insurance is going to cover installing these things, but the pricing for everybody in the village, all the business owners, and all the people who own properties that have that many units in them, I think it just might cost so much for them to have that return on the investment, and then the consideration of their privacy, that it'd be hard to get keys off of everybody, I think, in the first place. And then just knowing that your key to your place is potentially available out there to somebody who couldn't get into it somehow, or just might not know the details about the security codes. Just the idea of having your safety be infringed upon doesn't feel right for me or a lot of people. So those are my concerns. That written very too broadly, even though it has good intentions. What I heard Jeff Mitchell say about that they are on the bigger buildings and that they can be by the code enforcement officer asked to be put on those buildings. I think we could solve problems by, if there's issues at particular places, to offer them up to people who have like seizures or known problems, that they could have that they could pay for and have on their buildings, or some places that have had issues or located or are just have a lot of people and the structure set up that you would really like to have it, that could be something that code and the fire department could work more on a targeted basis, or a targeted approach, as opposed to everybody in the village having to get this huge cost. And there's no date on it, and there's no enforcement of it. And everybody would have to have blueprints, it says in it. It's not like if they're available, it's written that you have to provide blueprints for your buildings. Who has those? Unless anybody has like a brand new building that's gonna have the new building codes. I don't know if anybody has all these materials in it. I think that it's a big cost that we're not looking at, that property owners are gonna So those are my concerns.
I have a number of things to say, so if Fran has something that she'd like to add, I want to give the floor to her first, and then I'll.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wondering if how it would affect the insurance on the buildings. Would the owners have a benefit and reduction of insurance because of, the availability of these boxes on their building?
Good question. That's a good question. You done? You all set?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. This law has many pieces to it that do not sit well with me. Our process is okay, and I know that the police and the fire have been trying forever to get us to play and do something with Knox boxes, and we're doing something, and I'm about to attempt to put it off again, which they'll just love. We have one person here. I don't want to do something like this until I've talked to 57 merchants downtown. I don't want to do something like this until also, I would change a great deal of it. Requirements, all commercial buildings, businesses, mercantile occupancies, et cetera, et cetera. So somebody's got their little hairstyle thing in their house, or my wife does pet sitting. Those are all businesses. So now we've taken it to places that we aren't really worried about burning down. We're worried about a great big building, killing a whole bunch of people and burning down a block in general. So I don't like that piece. I don't like many pieces. I'm not at all prepared to pass a Knox box law this evening. I say, until I talk to a ton of people, see what they think and what they want to do, not good for me. Once again, it can be changed the way it's written. I'm a law kind of a pain in the butt. It has the 6 things that we have to do on the Knox box, and the last are 7, bullet point 7 about contents, other areas as directed by the village fire department. Our fire department, I love our fire department. I don't want to give my fire department the ability to do this. They don't have the authority to do this. I don't like that. And then another place that says all those things that have to go in the box, including the blueprint, blah, 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 blah. And the last bullet point, other pertinent information as directed by the village fire department. No, I don't like that. I don't like that vagueness that we've given our fire department the authority to tell everybody what they have to do, what they have to put in there. So I don't like that piece. So I think we need to do some work on this. Some more research, some more work on this. That's my opinion.
Sorry, yeah, I gave my phone.
Bad move.
Probably broke it now.
I think it's a good program. If it's, I don't know if it's necessarily a law program, but maybe it's definitely a good voluntary program. My house is burned down, they broke down every door to get in. Yeah, homeowners insurance paid to replace the doors, but also that night when I'm standing there in a burned out house, you've got to empty everything that's still valuable that's in your house because you can't secure your house. So it's just something you don't think about until it's like, crap, all my stuff's gone, but I gotta go find all my stuff that still might be worth something and take it with me to the hotel.
So it probably should have been worded a little bit different. You gotta think outside the fire department. It's public safety. Insurance isn't gonna bring somebody's life back. If somebody's in there having a medical emergency, we cannot get in. I'll use 5 Browns Lane as an example. A lady died in there because we could not gain entry to her apartment. We probably could have saved her. Insurance won't bring that money back. Or her life back, I'm sorry. There's other purposes behind this other than your house is on fire. You're a business owner. You have important documents in there, your building's on fire. Guess what? I can't get a door because it's secured. Now your documents burned up. Insurance isn't gonna pay for that. We have local banks that are installing these as we speak.
I think it's a good program.
If you're worried about them being smashed off the buildings, there is ways around them. If you have a concrete building or a mason building, you can cut out a block and install them and have them secured and flush. So they can't be smashed off. There's ways around it. Yes, it probably needs to be retweaked a little bit and reworded, but I think these are very necessary for certain buildings in this village.
EMS?
There's other facilities in the village that have 4-button key codes that I don't want to announce because of concerns, but there's been no issues at those buildings that and the whole EMS agency has that number. whole fire department has that number, and there's been zero problems at that apartment complex. And there's a couple apartment complexes that have that same system in one way or another.
Well, could we change the wording to limit the access to these boxes to the police department or sheriff's, but, you know, attending sheriff's office or whatever, so that you're not worried about a volunteer fire person having to go.
We make the law our own. That's part of the process. Rusty?
Yeah, we can tweak this any way we want. We can do anything we want, we can write anything we want. And we can, once again, do more research, see what the people in the village want. We can make safety decisions. We can, it certainly, in some degrees, feels practical to have Owego Gardens 1 or Owego Gardens 2 have that. It seems practical to have Browns Lane, maybe Franzen's buildings have that. Once again, I don't think it's practical for an awful lot of smaller people, and maybe it becomes a voluntary thing. We have all kinds of ways we can look at it, which is, once again, I don't believe we're gonna solve that sitting here right now.
That was one of my concerns, Fran, was police I know have been background checked. I'm not sure about anybody else. Like, I've been background checked numerous times for teaching, but I haven't had one in quite a while. So, I mean, I do have that concern. I mean,
Yeah, fire and EMS have no problem with PD having all the responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The problem is PD goes off at midnight.
I mean, I don't want to.
So you got midnight to 8 a.m.
It's not my goal to offend you guys.
You're not offending me. Trust me.
Or
Ringo Jeff.
PD is busy with a DWI at the office and they can't leave the prisoner.
Yeah, there are scenarios for sure.
Right, I mean, I would just ask that whoever had the keys, were you looking to maybe background checks if we go this route?
Yeah.
The ones that
They're
you
not
asked to
super
do
expensive.
that are background checked.
Oh,
yeah.
This is
If
not
if
a-
you're an
Yeah,
EMT,
that's
it's got
discussion.
background check.
It's just something that I would like, if we do and pursue this in another event, just that would be one of the requirements.
Yeah. And maybe those people are.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I have no
Specific
idea.
requirements for each person.
Well, if we're gonna do some investigation, you know, people in the community, maybe we should put this off for another month before we bring it up again on our agenda.
We can do that. So my question to the board, do we want to close the public hearing or do we want to leave it open?
I thought we closed it, I'm sorry.
No, I don't think we closed it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now we were just discussing this. In fact,
We'll bring it up again, and obviously there's always public comment.
and I'm like the public comment people be able to speak about other things too. Yeah. Unless we intended to take an action right this minute, which it seems pretty obvious we do not.
Yeah. We'll, investigate it more. All right. So the next item on the agenda is usual, public comment. Any public comment? Wait.
Mike?
A friend of mine went to, since you mentioned Marvin Park, I went to Marvin Park with her son,
Austin, actually.
and he was going up the little kiddie slide there, and mentioned something to his mama, and she was 4'7", about 90 pounds, climbed up there. Took some pictures of the nasty graffiti that's in there, which I have pictures of, and I will show you if you want to see it. Very inappropriate, should not be seen by kids. I went over Sunday to take some more pictures about some more stuff, and little kids were up there saying, "Oh, that says this and this." Kids shouldn't be saying that stuff. I mean, 7, 8-year-olds shouldn't be seeing this stuff, shouldn't be saying this stuff. And I noticed a lot of other things. Picnic benches with no seat. Picnic benches with nails sticking up that high off the seat, off the top of it. All wobbly. You guys are gonna put all this money into that park with the DRI, you really need to think about something to deal with all the vandalism going on at that park. And if I'd have had a hammer with me, I would have pounded those nails down, but I didn't have one with me. But I mean, they're up pretty high, and a little kid plop down on that, they're gonna get a nice little cut.
Definitely get all your stuff.
There's, light bulbs broken out in some of the pavilions.
It's gonna give you light bulbs and hammers, and we'll have you go over and take care of it.
Question about the park, is it voluntarily built or is it built by the town? With money to do it? Because I know some parks are built by people wanting to be nice and give kids opportunities to be kids. But some parks are funded by public, town owners and stuff like that.
Yeah, that,
Because like, it needs a lot of work.
yeah, yeah, so that park is, owned by the village and maintained by DPW. And it is gonna get a makeover. We got $1.4 million to spend there
That's a big.
next summer.
That's good to hear, and like he was saying over there, the graffiti and stuff, it's so horrible, you know? Sometimes like I don't even wanna walk through the park because how much stuff is written bad on the walls. And, you know, I think it should be monitored, maybe add a few more cameras and stuff, maybe, because isn't it against the law to do that on property that's not yours? Yeah, so I think they should at least add more cameras and have people, check in time to time to see what's going on.
Yeah, so I will say there are about $20,000 worth of cameras over there.
I think some of them are broken too.
The problem is, I won't get political, but there's not a lot of consequences for doing things in New York State.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if you're on camera, even if the police physically catch you doing it, you'll doing it again in an hour.
Yeah.
Well, there is a village law about damaging village property, $250 fine and or 15 days in jail. That $250 fine could really help to clean up some of that stuff.
Pay for some light bulbs at least.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, there's stuff over there. And I will say, we did attempt to have a cleanup day, and me and Ron, one nice young gentleman showed up. Rusty.
If it doesn't make you upset, I try to keep a record of everything that happens. Could I have your name? Because I'll write down that you spoke and your comments.
Yeah, Joseph, Joseph.
I can't hear you.
Joseph.
Joseph?
Yeah.
Is that your?
I have a hyphenate, so. H-U-R.
H-U-R.
N-E-Y.
N-E-Y.
Hyphenation, R-O-M-A-N-O.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for speaking to us about this.
To answer the other part, some of the park is volunteer stuff. People will donate benches and things of this sort, which we definitely appreciate when they do.
And labor and monies, we get donations, but we're responsible for it.
Like, I would be more than happy to, you know, put some work into it myself.
You looking for a job?
He's not
I'm
joking.
hiring.
He's not joking.
I'm that serious.
Summer
I'll
job.
dedicate you both to the park. 8 hours a day?
Summer
5
part-time.
days a week.
So what happens when you go to the public meetings?
Get a job.
Also, another concern is that me and him walk like every day. You know, I'm sure some of you have seen us walking around. And there are a ton of shopping carts all over the town. And like, I went on a Price Chopper, and they're like, yes, some of the homeless people take it off. They'll like take the shopping carts out of the area. And they're not supposed to do that, but shouldn't that be a little bit enforced by having them bring them back? Because they're on random people's property and some people get upset, especially with the grass. Hey, there's just too many of them everywhere.
Can I speak to that also?
Sure, go for it.
I gotta speak to, what happens with the stores is, they do not want the police to enforce that. Because it's bad customer relations, and so almost all the stores don't do that. So if somebody starts to drive one away, maybe somebody might say something to them or to take one away, but they will not confront them, they will not have them arrested in general. We used to have some of the people around town that would return them, and they'd have a little deal with the store, and they'd give them $1 a card or whatever, and they'd go find 4 or 5 and take them back. Another job.
Yeah.
I actually saw somebody with a truck the other day full of Price Chopper cards.
I saw that.
Over to Weissman to sell for metal.
That's probably what they were doing.
Another thing,
I'm very appreciative of young men of your age coming to a public meeting, so hopefully that becomes a trend.
Well, I'm going to college for politics and.
Why?
Well, my mom's a business person and is kind of in that rank of wants to be senator soon, so.
It's a lot of stress and very little pay.
we'll be talking to you in 20 years, we'll be talking to you, Senator.
I'm trying. Another thing is that I think the flagpoles should be like at least washed and cleaned. There's a lot of flags that are
Kind of
ruined
desecrated.
and like messed up, like scratched, and like I feel a little bit bad, especially for the people that fought for that flag and stuff. Like I go past on Lake Street and I have a pretty good relationship with the owner of Originals, and I fix his flags, you know, make sure they're not bent and stuff. But I don't know if there's anything we can do much about that. You know, the flags around town. I know, then, Chief, did you guys say you're adding like 6 feet to the flagpole at the fire department? Yeah, so that's being taken care of, but, it's just other flags that should be, you know, cleaned and add a little bit more height to.
OPD could use new flags.
So, yeah, I mean, if they're village flags, we can take care of them. If they're people's
I
flags.
can volunteer to put them up too.
Oh, I'm looking to hire you.
He's gonna volunteer to do it.
She's got a lot of ambition and time, I got weed eater.
Have we ever considered changing the hours at the park?
We have.
That was my next question.
But we need to find out what we were gonna do about the gate for no access, because there are comments of people jumping the fence, are still getting in there.
There's things in, you never can stop them, but if they're in there.
But if we stop them, then the cops can't get in.
That's my primary concern.
Right.
Negate it. The
They're
police are hindered by it.
trespassing after hours.
Yeah, but the cops can't get in, so who's gonna stop them? But the gate's crossed.
Just a question, Jimmy, the Marvin Park ad hoc, whatever it is, committee is talking about all those things, which you're gonna be part of it. So we're still working on it.
Yeah, I know, the step we could take now is we could change the hours or set hours. Right now, I don't think there's no law. There's a sign over there that says hours, but there's no law.
Just read it today.
Yeah, there does.
Just read it.
Or it's vague.
I have them.
But we
We
can
can put them up.
clarify the hours, which would let the police enforce a trespassing law,
I have the.
which would help.
One goes in the back.
One other thing about the park, that carry in, carry out garbage thing, there's garbage all over that park. Nobody carries their crap out.
That's true.
Literally, Mike, we found diapers there.
Yeah.
That we had to clean up.
I picked it up. Literal green. Rusty.
Marvin is closed from 11 at night till 7 in the morning.
Let them make it late.
I have one more big thing. It's for the first responders. I see a lot that a lot of people don't pull over while, you know, the fire department, the police, or the EMTs are going by to, you know, save somebody's life or important call. I was thinking there's a lot of that yesterday. It's a money thing, but what if we put more signs up, you know, around the town saying, pull over, or, yeah, because I know like NYPD, they have a thing in the back of the patrol cars, pull over, it's the law. Maybe something like that, you know, because like, their job, you know, we're volunteering, we're actually here for that today. Their job is to save lives and make sure people are safe, and, you know, want to be able to do that as best as they could. So maybe we can enforce that a little bit more.
Those are the same people that are running past stop school buses, I'm sure.
That
Yeah,
too.
record number of Thornton County last month.
Yeah.
County has signs out now about being filmed and they will ticket you.
Yeah.
They got off the highway today in Vestal, it was right there.
School buses also have the cameras now where it's like
Yeah.
new cars, like,
Starting to
they
get
have
it.
like satellite cameras.
County at this point.
Yeah.
It's one of those common sense things, unfortunately, you can't teach common sense.
You know, right, you can't make, that's a, I don't know how many times, you can't make people be good people.
I piggyback off on one thing he said. He talked about homeless. And, we do now have homeless. I've lived here a long time, and 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been saying that. And so I'll say it to people, the homeless, and they're like, we don't have any. So apparently you're around town a lot, and obviously you're
Every day.
seeing what I'm seeing also, and I just think it's something we need to be tuned into. It's certainly, it's increasing, and it's becoming a concern here where it really never was before. So I'm glad there is awareness, and thank you for bringing it to a public
No problem.
setting, because it is.
I would agree, and there's not, in Tioga County in general, there's not the services there are for them as there is in Thornton County or.
I think we have to look at why is it happening? Why is it occurring now? And I think there's a multitude of reasons, but it's different. Something has changed, and it is nationally, but it is now here in our little village.
There is also a thing with some of the homeless population where, there's services like RSS, DSS, stuff like that. We're with RSS. We're residents at 255 Front Street. That's the rehabilitation center for people that have been through foster care.
Oh, I see you at the bus stop.
Yes. And there's a thing with some of the homeless population is most of them don't want help. They want to be out there. They want to do what they want because they feel like if they live a normal life, they won't be granted the same freedom they are roaming the streets every day. So, it's, also some of them would like help. I see a lot of veterans. I think our veterans should be helped a lot, especially the veterans. But, at the end of the day, it's about what they choose to do at the start of the day. I wish it was different. Wish it could be enforced, but a lot of them just choose to do that, choose that life. I notice that a lot.
I think we're getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
Rusty?
Yeah, I'm not trying to be rude, but public comment is for you guys to say stuff to us and going back and forth with each other. That's not what we do at this particular time. Even though we appreciate everything, but that's not the deal.
All good comments.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Any other public comment about the board? Parks or anything like that?
And I have, so 342 Front, Bristol. Fran just informed me that we're gonna do Porch Fest in August.
Yes.
So that's great news. I don't know if I had any influence on that or not, but I would like to offer up my porch. Okay,
Okay.
342. If I offer up my porch, do I fetch the bands or whoever's running it fetches the bands?
I think it's historic, Owego Marketplace that's doing that.
Elizabeth Scavera. Go talk to Elizabeth Scavera. Do you know who she is? She has local utopia on Main Street. Where sincerely yours used to be.
Okay.
You know where I am?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's champion.
What's her, how do you spell it?
Skobira. Or you could also talk to Janelle Malia in the book.
Anything else, Teresa?
Yes. The Knox box, I didn't chime in because I wasn't familiar with all of that. But, so I have a question about what about an Airbnb? So I've been thinking about what to do with that property, because I own multiple houses for 342 Front. And if I do it as an Airbnb, one of those boxes would be fine. It'd be an owner expense for me. but it wouldn't be a bad thing because, cameras and all kinds of good stuff. This is a good thing for, I'm gonna essentially open that place up to destruction and, enjoyment. So Airbnb has both its pluses and its minuses. So that to me, it sounds like a good thing, but,
With less destruction, hopefully.
less destruction because they would know there's a camera here. Access to the building, I would of course give them a key, not an antique one, so please don't smash my front door. You can smash the garage door in the basement if you want, I don't care. So, certainly someone's life is more important than that house. So to me, that would, if we're gonna do it as a requirement, and would Airbnb be included in that?
That's a good question.
How old is it? Could people have the ability to opt in if they're not within that category?
So, yeah, stuff we have to figure out.
Yeah, so that's something to add into your discussion, and thank you, Laura, for all of your research and what you did. So number 3 that I have is the place that's across the street from Buffy, the, State Farm place. That place is a worse mess than it was before. It hasn't been mowed, and it's really falling apart. I assume everyone's complaining about that, but I don't know. There's a sign there for stump grinding. It's across the street from Buffy. It's Front Street, or maybe it's called Fifth Avenue. I don't know where it changes from Fifth Avenue. It's right on the corner there.
Yeah, that's the corner.
It's the corner of Front and
East Front.
East Front, yeah.
Where the porch roof fell in.
Right, exactly.
In the snow.
Yeah. So I had gone to the village and wandered all over 56 Main to find out whether that place was available for sale or not. They are not in arrears on taxes is what I heard, so it's not going up for auction anytime soon. But nobody's taking care of it. It's not mowed.
Yeah.
Or anything else. I mean, it's such an eyesore.
Last I knew what bank owns it, and they historically had issues.
Yeah.
Well, they had codes on.
So can we call code or
They already
whatever?
did it. They already sent them a letter. I just can't go in there and mow their yard when they still want it. So we sent them a letter through code.
There's a process, so legally, we have to send a letter and say we're gonna
Because I
mow
was
this charge,
told
yeah.
at some point that if I didn't mow my yard, you were gonna add it to my tax bill.
Correct.
So it
Eventually they
seems
will.
like that ought to be added in.
There's so many days that I have to wait to hear from code after they send the letter or they receive it, however, I don't know the whole process. And then I can go over and mow it and then it'd be charged to their taxes.
So that process is going, I guess.
That is actually on my trustees report, because I see numerous properties in the village that fall in that category.
Yeah, because I did wander around and look to see, what's golf course regulation versus, whatever.
Village code right now is 18 inches, which is excessive, but these
It is,
places are
that's-
probably close to 3 feet by now.
That's a lot
Corner
of
of
inches.
Main and Spencer qualifies.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's on my list
Spencer?
too.
But that's the same thing. I don't know about the code part of that yet. Because people still own, right? They still own that.
Same situation.
Yeah.
But they defaulted.
I wanted to just quickly speak to you about the one across from you at Main and Spencer. I believe that Jim McFadden is taking that, and it'll come to auction this summer. I believe that's what he told me.
Who would buy it?
Good question.
No, I just give you the information.
Yeah, turn it into a dog park or turn it into.
No one will
something.
buy it, but that's not,
But yeah, I mean, these properties that are eyesores can be turned into something useful in the village.
But that was seized, what you're telling me, Rusty.
Yeah.
It was taken by the.
the county is taking it for taxes and will probably auction it in August.
Or one window is that.
Porch is falling in now.
Is he taking estimated?
90% sure of that, I think.
Yeah, but it's going. Sell it.
Or anything else? Good.
Teresa, you all set?
Yep, I sat down, see?
All right. Any other public comment? Or we move on to the rest of our presentation?
Can I introduce her?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Julie Nucci. So I went to the New York State floodplain managers meeting, and at that meeting, I met Jamie Bouchard, who has agreed to come and talk about funding opportunities. And at the floodplain managers meeting, I was talking about how the CRS would be so good for Owego, but it's just the lift is too big and it's too hard. And I certainly can't do it as a volunteer, and you guys are all stretched. So what are ways to try to be able to find other sources of funding that could provide, and other sources of support to help us? So that's why she's here. And she works for a consulting company out of Rochester, and I will let Jamie introduce herself, more, but just that's why she's here. Jamie Burchard. She's on her, you can see it on the screen.
Yes, the agenda I think says Jane, but it's Jamie, Jayme. So, can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, wonderful. And I apologize. A rainstorm just came through here, and it's very dark, and I have to turn this light on, and it feel like I'm glowing right now. So I apologize for the glare behind me. So, but thank you, Julie, for the nice introduction, and I'm really happy to be here this evening. I am a senior managing community planner at Barton and LaJudas in Rochester, New York. And I have prepared a few slides for you just to kind of provide an overview of some of the options I think that are available to the village. I'm really intrigued by your community. I think there's a lot of great things going on in terms of just, having a very robust downtown and active business district, beautiful architecture, kind of a thriving community that revolves around some of the arts development. And I do understand that the village is is vulnerable to flooding. So which is how I met Julie and kind of had this conversation about ways to reduce risk in the village. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen. Am I able to do that on this forum?
I think I just gave you permission.
Oh, okay. All right.
We haven't had it to do that yet. Okay. Is there a share button down in the middle?
I see share my screen. I've never used this platform before, so I apologize. I might be a little new to. Okay, here we go. All right, and you might see that. Do you see that first slide?
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming.
Yep.
There you go. Look at that.
Oh, good. All right, success. Awesome. Okay, so again, I won't take up too much of your time. I know you've got a lot more on the agenda, but I just thought it would be helpful to put together some slides so you could have something to look at, and talk a little bit about some opportunities that are available to you at this moment. So again, I just wanted to talk a little bit about all of the plans and studies and data that have been conducted to date in the village and how that could be utilized moving forward. As Julie had mentioned, there's an interest in the community rating systems program. I can talk about that a little bit more, and then provide to you some options that the village can take, if you're interested in pursuing any of these options that we have presented to you this evening. So yes, existing conditions. So there's a lot of really great plans and studies that have been coordinated to date and is available to the village. And as a planner, these documents are really kind of the foundation to pull from, essentially, kind of your framework, providing the context and data, and then providing actions and strategies upon which, basically you choose to implement. So the variety of plans I've taken a look at really range from your comprehensive plan update, which was done in 2013. The village does have a long-term community recovery strategy, which was created in response to some of the storm events that occurred in 2011. The municipality did participate in the hazard mitigation plan update for the county. And then, as I mentioned earlier, obviously there's a lot of historic fabric in the community, and having the National Register properties, obviously this historic district, and this is all information I'm sure you're very well aware of, but these are all great building blocks and, kind of the components upon which to move forward in terms of implementation. You've got a lot of actions and strategies that are provided in these plans. I wanted to highlight a few things that I thought were interesting from the comprehensive plan update. There is a section for flood recovery, so you've got some action items that were recommended, an Owego Resiliency Committee that was designated as the local body for implementation. And again, a lot of these actions and strategies are reinforced in other planning documents, such as the long-term community recovery strategy, which I believe was funded through Department of State. And again, some of these recommendations look to create resiliency and reduce risk and vulnerability in the community. And as you can see, one of the recommendations is to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program's community rating system. So I think there's, again, a lot of synergy with your planning documents to, again, support implementation for flood resilience in the community. So, and understanding that the village sits at a very precarious situation along the Susquehanna, and that there's a large component of the village that is obviously at risk to flooding. So this is the flood insurance rate map, which just basically dictates the regulatory floodplain. So that shaded area is essentially your active floodway. That's the most dangerous part of the floodplain. It's really kind of where the floodwaters are most active. Then you can see the zone A, which is that light blue area, 100 year, and I think those orange areas are kind of like the zone X areas, which are the 500. But as you all know, it's really not 100-year flood. You're talking about 1% annual chance and the 2.2% annual chance flood. So all of these different components are kind of like a recipe for where do we go from here? How can we achieve some of the actions and strategies that have been proposed in these various plans that have been created to date? So that's kind of where we're at this crossroads of, is the village a good candidate for seeking an application to the community rating system? So for folks who may not be aware of what is the CRS program, it is voluntary. Communities that participate in the National Flood Insurance Program are eligible for application. And essentially, it's a very comprehensive program. And the carrot at the end of it is basically there's a community-wide flood insurance reduction that would apply to any policyholder in the community for complying with certain standards within the CRS program. Again, it's completely voluntary, and it's just a way to create a benchmarking system, and I like to call it kind of an a la carte menu of activities that a community can choose from for implementation to basically reduce risk to flooding and have just better comprehensive floodplain management planning available in the community. And then again, reinforce a lot of multiple benefits. Some of that could be natural resource conservation, public education and outreach, things of that nature. There's 19 activities, which I'll get into momentarily. So you enter the program at a class 10, which is really 0. So you would enter it at a class 9. And then from there, depending on the amount of credit points you earn, that is where you receive that premium reduction in the special flood hazard area. Most municipalities in New York State kind of average at about maybe a class 8 or 7. In New York State, we've got the town of Greece, which is pretty is the highest ranking municipality. They are located in Monroe County, and they're at I think they're at a class 5 at this point with 25%. And as I mentioned, there's about 19 different activity areas, and they're grouped in these 4 main buckets. So again, you can choose your program upon entering the CRS. and you can find kind of what I like to call double duty with other programs and areas of interest to the community. So you don't necessarily have to do certain types of provisions. You can kind of build your program. So this is where you can find synergy in some of the existing activities that the village is already implementing, so to say. And I think this is kind of the sticky point or sticking point for New York State, is that participation isn't really very robust in the state. That's for a number of different factors, largely because it's a very it's a local program. So basically, a village or a town or a city would have to directly apply to the program and essentially create a position like a CRS coordinator, or designate another title. If you have a full-time code enforcement officer, that usually is what happens. They become the CRS coordinator. And we all know that a lot of municipalities across New York State that are small are just really kind of strapped for capacity and access to funding. So it's really hard to access this program because you don't have the staff capability. And as you can see on this CRS map, oh, yes.
Yeah, it's just, from people are too far away to read the legend, so they can't see, but what the red means is that at the left is the top 50 communities in terms of flood insurance policies. And red means, so there's a list of 50 on the left, and that's the communities that have the most number of flood insurance policies. And all of the red dots are where those communities are. And if the dot's red, it means they're not in the CRS. Right? The only ones in the CRS are the green dots, of which there's almost none. If you go to the map of Florida, everybody's in the CRS. So we pay for the CRS. We pay for Florida. You look at the South, and they're very heavily invested in CRS, and they're all getting their really big discounts, and we're subsidizing them. But New York's participation in this program has been historically very low. So sorry, Jamie, they just can't.
Oh yeah, sure. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, and I circled Owego on there, which is ranked number 36 in terms of policies.
Jamie, excuse me for just a second.
Sure.
We have not been able, your presentation is fine, but we cannot actually see any of the print on any of the slides. So we're not able to, we can hear you and take it from there, but we can't see the stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm happy to provide you the PDF of the presentation afterwards, if that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. So basically, so New York State doesn't participate really very highly in this program, which is a shame because I think it's a great program, and it's a great way. I've mentioned it before, kind of a benchmarking program, because you can pick and design the program that you want to implement, which I think is really great, and it really helps to address some of the issues in terms of flood vulnerability, but other activity areas that the municipality may want to pursue, such as maybe better mapping, or again, natural resource conservation, or maybe looking at synergies for public awareness campaigns. So I think there's a lot of good reason to pursue the program, but it is certainly a program that takes a lot of technical assistance and training. So, and I've got about 20 years of experience working with communities across New York State on a whole bunch of different issues, but I'm very passionate about CRS because I think it is so underutilized. And New York State has not really done a good job, in my opinion, of helping communities access this program, which I've told them many times. So, which I'm not shy about saying. So how do we move forward in this? This one more slide. Hopefully, I don't know if you can see this data either, but I just pulled that and I updated this for this evening's presentation. But your current policies to date, there's about 366 policies in force in the village. So that's pretty significant for a small community such as you are. So again, I think, and I've read the all hazard mitigation plan for Tioga County, and it looks like in that plan itself, it was recommended that the village would be a good candidate for this program. So I don't think it's really convincing you that it would be good to participate in this program, obviously for a number of reasons, but it's really kind of a capacity issue, which I completely understand. And it really is an obstacle for a lot of small communities. So again, my presentation really is how can we move forward? Is there a desire to look into this a little bit more and seek ways to access some of the benefits of participating in CRS? And I think there is. So right now we've got folks are familiar with the consolidated funding application, which is issued through New York State. It's kind of a big pot of money that's available for various different types of grants through different agencies. And I think we could, if there is interest in pursuing this, and I would be happy to meet with any individuals following this presentation to provide some further detail. But one of the applications are for the Climate Smart Communities Program. Deadline for the grant are July 29th. So we've got a little bit of time if this is an avenue that the village is interested in pursuing. For climate smart communities, you do not have to be a designated climate smart community. Obviously, it helps in terms of awarding points, but you do not have to be a climate smart community. However, this could be a journey that the village is interested in pursuing if this grant is, and this program itself is attractive. Because again, as I mentioned, the CRS program is very similar to this Climate Smart program, which is New York State. It's really kind of building your program and becoming just more, creating avenues for efficiency in your government, and just more sustainable programs and activities for the constituents in the community. So these are some of the different components that would be required to move forward with a consolidated funding application to Climate Smart. It is a 50-50 program. It's a 5-year for the project, for the length of the project, and the minimum grant award would be 50 up to 2 million. And a resolution would be needed to be passed by the village to do application to the program. And I'll tell you in a minute what the difference is between the Climate Smart and the LWRP. So the Local Waterfront Revitalization Program, Climate Smart is through DEC, and the LWRP is through Department of State. So 2 separate state agencies. The village is eligible to apply to the LWRP because you are located on a designated inland waterway. And the spirit of this application would be to essentially put together just what it sounds like, a program, like another planning process to support various efforts to revitalize the waterfront. And CRS could be a part of the LWRP. So the best way I could describe the differences between the 2 programs and the 2 different avenues the village could explore if you're interested in pursuing this would be the Climate Smart program is about implementing and acquiring, and this is just a proposal, a thought, to basically hire or train that CRS coordinator to help administer the program locally. Now, I had a conversation with Elaine Jardine from Tioga County, just to get a feeling of whether the county might be interested in this program. And she didn't feel that there was enough of that flood risk throughout the county, but she did support the village's efforts to move forward, and did say to me that any kind of support for the application would be available through her office, such as for mapping. So I felt that was a positive conversation. So for Climate Smart, it would be really like implementing some of the action items that we spoke about earlier with the comprehensive plan and your that long-term recovery plan. You kind of have some plans already that speak to the spirit of flood risk and flood vulnerability. So I think you could apply to the Climate Smart program for implementation of those other plans, looking specifically at CRS. Now, the LWRP would be a little bit different because that would be just another planning process with another plan. However, you could find synergy in other programs, such as if there were other things that were important to your community that weren't covered in your comp plan or weren't covered in the long-term recovery strategy, such as looking to create public access or downtown revitalization, or those other types of broader comprehensive planning components. And then from there, you could squeeze in the CRS activity with the LWRP. So one's more of like a planning process, and the other one is more kind of like, no, we just want to do CRS. So just CRS, or maybe more holistic, and let's connect with other things. from my professional opinion, that would be my recommendation to the village in terms of kind of looking to that flood vulnerability and resilience type of effort. Now, just to let you know, as I mentioned earlier, I have been a big staunch advocate of CRS in New York State, and there isn't a heck of a lot of resources available to implement the program. But back in 2019, I worked with Monroe County, and I did write a successful grant application for the county for a regional community rating systems pilot program, which is currently going on right now. So Monroe County is working on a pilot project that looks at basically creating through county assistance a pilot program to help municipalities interested in the CRS utilize county capacity to explore that program. The difference, I believe, from Monroe County to Tioga is that for Monroe County, they have a very big MS4 program, and they've got a lot of programs and practices around stormwater management planning, which is why it worked to apply through the county approach. But I do think the village has a lot of other things going that we could essentially create another pilot program to create like a position or to train somebody or to create some type of capacity locally. And then essentially work with someone like myself to help with that technical capacity until you're completely sustainable and doing the program on your own. Those are some of my early thoughts. But that's kind of the end of my presentation. I know that was a lot of information. I don't certainly expect you to kind of have too many answers for me right now, but I'm willing to go ahead and forward this presentation on and certainly meet with you at a later date when it's convenient.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So do you get like a general summary? So if, I would be willing to have, if somebody from the board wants to just set up a call, we could have a Zoom call with Jamie. I know you're not gonna like make any decisions now, obviously, and it's tough to digest. But if you, as this is settling in, have questions, I mean, we'd be happy to talk to you about it. But the whole point is that for the climate smart communities, you would write the grant, the funding of the grant would pay for the person to put a person in the village to take this on. And then Jamie's and her firm would be in the grant as the consultant to train that person. So you would basically get a very skilled person to be able to train somebody. You get 5 years of funding for that person. So you would have a 5-year plan. You would have a 5-year time frame to figure out how to fund that person when the grant was over. And the hard work of CRS is institutionalizing it. And if we do a really good job and make a robust system that's very data-driven, that uses good software, that we don't put all of the knowledge in somebody's head, but we put it in the system, then it should be a program that we should be able to sustain. And 5 years is a good start. So I don't know, without something like this, I mean, it's a big hill. And so bringing in expert resources would make that hill a lot smaller.
Are you applying for the job, Julie?
No, I'm not applying for the job. Jamie would write the grant.
No, I mean for the person that.
Oh, am I applying for the person? No, I'm not applying for the person. I'm not applying for, but honestly, if this grant were to fund a position, if you were somebody who was just getting out of college in a planning position, or you were an environmental science student, I mean, this is like for a young person to be able to launch a career and work with a really experienced consultant in climate resilience, I think that's a pretty enticing position for a young starting professional. I'm looking at the other end of the, but I think we would be able to find somebody.
Okay, well, we have 6 weeks to get this application done, right?
Yeah, it's not a lot of time. So decisions should have to be made of like a go, no go, I would say inside a week. We just need to say, or, you know. So I would be willing, Jamie, would you be able to have a meeting like later in the week if if people from the village wanted to just have a meeting and ask more questions, or?
Oh,
I could
yeah,
do that.
absolutely.
Because what do you think? When would you want an up or down by to know? Because it's a lot of preparation.
Yes, I mean, obviously sooner rather than later. And I think figuring out if it's the LWRP, strategy or more the climate smart that you'd want to pursue. Because with the climate smart, you do have to pass that resolution as well. So kind of walking backwards, you might need to have, that has to happen as well for that application to move forward.
And Climate Smart has a 50% match. But
Correct.
if we got like GIS services from the county, that would count against the 50%, right?
Yes, we could be very creative about finding the match, kind of using volunteer hours, staff time, using the county, all of those kinds of mechanisms can build that 50%. The LWRP is more attractive. It's only 25%, but it's more of a long-term vision because we have to first set up a local waterfront revitalization program, a plan essentially, which is not a bad thing either, considering that your comprehensive plan was done in 2013. So maybe you do a joint comp LWRP update. That could be something that's creative too. So again, you've got options available to you. It just depends on what you want to achieve.
So if we had an LWRP, if we had this waterfront revitalization plan that was funded and accepted and written, and if you put in the plan, we want a CRS and we need a CRS coordinator, then the next year you can apply for the CRS coordinator to the LWRP because now you're implementing your plan. But
Right.
It makes the whole process longer because we have to have the cycle of getting the funding and creating the plan, and then after you have the plan, then you have to implement the plan. With Climate Smart, it would be trying to leapfrog the planning stage by leveraging existing plans and go right to implementation. But that one has a bigger match. Is that fair?
Right. That's a great way to summarize it, Julie. Yeah, and that's the decision that, if you want to move forward, that's the decision that the village would have to make. They're both very good strategies, so it just depends on what you want to do first.
Do we have a anticipated cost of what it would be so we know what match we're looking at?
I think that's the next step. I think tonight was just like, is anyone interested? Does this sound like, a way to move forward? I think that was kind of why I thought coming here tonight and having a general conversation would be good. But if there's interest, then I say let's have more of a, drill down a little bit more and get some numbers.
Because that will definitely affect which direction we go if we do go this way.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have anything?
Mike, could you take this on? You know, if somebody from the board that.
I got a whole budget to do.
Mike's
3
Yeah.
weeks.
DRI, budget, and on and on and on.
I mean, I'm happy to liaise with Jamie on this. But I mean, I'm not an official board representative, but I would be happy to take a certain amount of this lift working with Jamie.
I'll do it too, but more than me on the board, right? So.
Well, I think we would need one point person on the board. Jamie is gonna do the bulk of the writing.
Yeah, it's just coordinating with Jamie so that, she knows what to write.
Right, and so it would be a matter of feeding her appropriate information about the village and getting her that information, and I would definitely help with that. Laura, if you could help too, I think between the two of us, we could probably do it.
Well, and if the two of you meet with Jamie, could you come back at our next meeting and, you know, clarify so where we need to move forward?
Well, yes. I think the one question before we got to that stage though is would more of you want to just talk to her to learn more about, I think it would be more of a board decision of, do you want to go forward? Which way do you want to go? So if there's a meeting with her maybe to discuss that, and if the answer is yes, we want to go forward, and yes, we want to go this way, then once there's a decision made, then we can start going down that path. But I think first, there has to be a consensus among you guys, and I don't know if you know enough now to make that decision. So the question is if maybe we could just schedule a call later in the week, just schedule a Zoom, if you're interested. Obviously, you guys have to be interested to do this, to learn more about it. But there's not a ton of time to waste, given the January 29th deadline. So I guess at this point, and you don't even have to answer now, you've heard the presentation, if you want to just, after the meeting, talk amongst yourselves and let me know, do you guys want to talk more with her, in which case we'll set it up. Do you want to try to move on this, do you not? And let me know. I don't want to put you on the spot now.
Yeah, we can do that.
But if it's a yes, we should try to, I would say, have a call by Friday.
Have the board vote on that?
No, there's nothing to vote on.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a nice evening now.
You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
She's like. Usually head reports?
Mike, we didn't finish up public comment.
Oh, we didn't finish public.
We
She
finished
was on the agenda after public comment.
Okay.
Department head reports?
As you can see, this is a nice new format that Robin never used, but this is your future. Yes, you did a very nice job. We're gonna start out with the positive. The positive is Stephanie Cole did it once again. She put in it for a grant, and once again, we're getting another, lift for the 3rd ambulance because of her skill in writing these grants. She's definitely got the niche. This one was for the high grant. Also, I'm gonna have to bite the bullet. I was gonna talk to a couple of the board members. The motor on 2033 bit the dust, and it was taken to get checked out to see what was going on, and then we found out that the motor had to be replaced. This is, yes, the same ambulance that we just put $11,000 in for the electronics. The quote came in at 17 something, but anyway, I figured out the taxes on it and all that, and it was gonna be 19,000 and some, so I was going to ask for, not to exceed $20,000. And the reason that I went ahead and did this is because there was only one motor in the whole country. And if I didn't jump, we weren't gonna get it, and it would have been months, maybe a year, the way things are going with the economy, to get this motor. And luckily, it was in Philadelphia, and quite frankly, it's already in the process of being put in. But I didn't want us to lose the opportunity to get the only motor that was out there. And I apologize, and I had my hands slapped, but I called Mike right away, told him. I also talked to Rusty about it. I wasn't hiding anything from anybody. It's just, it had to be an action, it had to be taken quickly. So I'm asking for approval to spend no more than $20,000 on this, motor to be replaced.
I assume your budget will support this.
Yes.
Definitely got the money.
Yes.
We get the money.
Robin, what did we have it down in Philly for in the first place?
No, we have it down in, Halsted, right? We took it down there to see what the problem was. Because it wasn't starting, so there's a bolt that's in there that was, shearing off pieces of metal, which plugged up the oil thing and.
So I'm just trying, I'm too many
It's
things.
originally it was down in Long Island getting the electronic stuff for the $11,000.
That was $11,000.
Yes. So that has been done and completed, and then, of course, naturally, come back and this happens, so basically it's gonna be like a brand new vehicle.
So the electronic stuff was sorted out when they came up and replaced that fuse or whatever. It's been good since then?
Yes, because yes, you know I got that heart attack when nothing was working.
And the ambulance isn't in Philadelphia, it's in Halsted.
No, yeah, it's in Halsted, the motor was in
Oh, yeah, I
Philadelphia,
don't care about the Philly part.
which was close,
Yeah.
so that's why
I'm only asking.
we'll have it by the Strawberry Fest prediction is definitely that we'll get it by the Strawberry Fest.
This is a brand new motor?
Brand new.
Okay, I propose that the EMS, is authorized to spend 20,000 for replacement motor on up to 20,000. Yeah, and the replacement motor. Yeah. Right, 2030, just keep running.
It's in the agenda, actually, besides the number. We had seven.
Yeah.
Just adjusted the motor. I'll second that.
Any discussion on it?
Yeah, to keep ourselves in the proper place with our audits, et cetera, do we have to have the line item that's coming out of? Is that something that we need to do?
It's maintenance and repair, it's a single new.
I'm asking that.
We can put that in, just to be,
I'm just saying, you know how they fuss with us if we don't say where it's coming.
we got the money, right?
We got the money, but we were supposed to say it in the thing. So do we have the place?
So on the agenda, we changed it from 17 to that.
And we're gonna add from EMS maintenance to the budget or,
Hey, budget line, whatever. Okay, thank you.
I can give you that. I got the number.
Where's the code?
I
I can go back and get it. So motion by Fran, second by Ron, right?
Yep. Any other discussion on engine for the ambulance? All right. Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
And yes.
Okay, Rich, just let me know, because I did look out of order.
Another department head report.
Also, we've been waiting a long time to get the recall fixed on 2051 for the airbag for the passenger side. Yay, that got done. So that has also been, because we weren't allowed to have anybody sit in passenger in the front.
That's the flag, all right.
That is correct. So that is done. The rest of the stuff is actually in here. The oil changes, everything has been maintained. We did have a issue with a flat tire, come to find out where it was done, they didn't tighten it correctly. So anyway, everything was donated, they didn't charge us for the repair and the fixing, which is nice. Also the towing from the hospital to the place that repaired it. The last flat tire also donated that, tow, didn't charge us for it, but it is a donation, so thank you to them. So, the rest of the information's in front of you, because I'm not gonna bore you, because everybody's been here for hours.
Mike? Robin? Did we pass the baton to the new?
We have, the new baton is now into Mr. Paul Cole's hands and his lovely wife Stephanie. The wonderful grant writer.
Change everything.
Once again, we need to thank Robin for
Yes,
all these years of being willing to do this thankless job. Thank you so much for doing it for the
yes.
village and its residents.
3 years, we went from 0 to where we are now. Great job. By the whole department.
Whole different.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
New truck has arrived, it is in the village, training's gonna be this Thursday. Some members up to speed on it, hopefully it'll be in service within a month or so.
Calling out on the street during the break.
Of course, I didn't wanna burn it out, but I came out.
Looks good.
So Rod has got the MSO, all the paperwork on it. We had our elections, Rusty has the results of that. And then I have 2 new members. So whatever you want to do.
Question? Yes. Fire department election. Rodney, I'll give you this paper too, but write it down or whatever you like. Chief Jim Morris, first assistant chief Andrew Churchman, second assistant chief Tyler Bolin, deputy chief Eric Hawkins. Is Eric still here? Yeah. Secretary Kelly Hawkins and treasurer Janice Johnson. This was a fine election for the fire department, good turnout. We had a couple of contested elections, and I'm here to ask that we approve all these officers. Let me just think, we'll approve them all. We have to approve the top 3 by our village charter. I move that we approve all 6 of these officers from the village fire department.
I'll second it.
That's a discussion about the officers. Looking fine and sweet to me.
Thanks for letting me see who you are, because I have no idea how half those guys are. Hopefully I never need you. Hopefully.
That's a good plan. Mary, any other discussion of that? Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Yes.
I have 2 new members, both joining company number 2. First member is Justin Hazelton, Hazelton, for Rusty, so I know you like names.
Is it on the agenda?
Borrow that.
Sure, yeah.
It was on Front Street. And the second one is Joseph Homie Romano. Homie, whatever it is. I can't read your handwriting.
Is that you?
Yes.
Ernie.
Is the other one you?
Yes.
So it's you 2 guys.
And Joseph has 2 years of EMT experience. So maybe it's what.
Justin Hazelton. And I wrote you down.
Technically, one of those.
Joseph
Well, I've got,
You got it, right? You did it.
Got it right, though.
Didn't read those two. He needs to get spanked.
What house?
We're for company too.
Yeah.
Me too.
You got the original. Read those. You can't have those.
What's that? Yep.
Yeah, we got 2 new members, right? Oh, yeah, you need the names on it. You can read it.
Sure you want to be a politician?
Positive.
It's not always this entertaining.
Not always, but it's
We're
about.
trying to make it fun, yeah.
It's about making the world better.
I like your attitude.
Okay. So, I move that we accept Justin Hazelton to Company Twos from the Owego Fire Department.
Second.
Any discussion? Rusty?
Yes?
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
And yes.
Now, why in the world these guys would be joining twos instead of fives, I cannot possibly imagine.
I doesn't have a.
I move that we accept Joseph Herney Romano
There you go.
and to Company Two, into the Owego Fire Department Company Twos.
I still like Tony.
I could have said
I second.
It's not the worst side of it.
Discussion on that? Rusty?
yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you to you guys for volunteering.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it.
Once again, hope I never need you.
Let's count the theme around here.
Just call us over for a barbecue, not your house on fire.
What if the grill's on?
Well, that's a different story.
He's like, also, guys, just make some.
It's happening.
Make s'mores on the grill.
The mayor doesn't cook so well.
It's just well done.
Cajun style.
Right. Cajun style. Anything else, Jim?
Other than we're gonna start working on the pavilion again.
Replacing the light bulbs?
Yeah, well, the electric's all gotta be replaced.
Candle lights.
Touch the grandstands. Might help Petey with theirs.
Yeah. Let's see what's on. Tracy?
Just wanted to mention that the sewer department's new dump truck we ordered approximately 16 months ago did come in last week. So
Sounds like a vehicle that we.
it's nice that finally showed up. The other thing, just wanted, in case everybody wasn't aware of it, wanted everybody to be aware that Mark Vandemark, his last day is this Friday. We are hoping to get a lunch in Thursday or Friday here at the boardroom. Hoping all the board members and stuff can come and, wish Mark off and stuff. He's been with us for 11 years at the plant. Been a very big asset to the department, so he will be missed.
Yeah.
What time is that?
Like food and.
We're hoping to do a luncheon, yes, and we still haven't got it truly finalized if it's gonna be Thursday or Friday. As soon as it is, Cindy will be sending, or Kim will be sending out information and stuff.
We're being Zoom, right?
Yeah, we're
Most of the guys have lunch.
shooting for noon, so. And that's all I have, other than a couple of resolutions.
Which are on the agenda.
Go for it.
I move that we hire Michael Gady as a water treatment plant operator trainee at $18 per hour with a 1-year probationary period with a start date of June 13th, 2022.
I'll second.
Discussion on that? Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Yes.
And I also move that we hire Jeff Duke as a wastewater treatment plant operator trainee at $18 per hour with a 1-year probationary period with a start date of June 27th, 2022.
Second.
So the start dates just line up with when they're available.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
And yes. Anything else for you guys?
That's all I have.
Open fall. It's torture every Monday. Right?
He's just been doing the same thing over and over again, cutting trees, chipping. Been working on the lights, have all the lights done on the bridge now. And down Front Street, so that's bigger, right? We had a couple trees that we had to take down last week, so, and we had a short week, so took 2 days of that. And then we've been helping, Mr. Chandler with the for the hose team getting that fill put in. And then the cemetery guys, of course. That's about all I got.
We have anything from Joe?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we do.
We have a thing from police chief. The police chief would like to hire Dominic Florini. Dominic, Dominic, and I'll give you this paper, Rodney. Florini, Florini. He's a fireman in Johnson City. He's 31 years old. We want to hire him as a part-time police officer at a starting rate of $18 an hour, which is the academy rate. He is just finishing the first stage of the academy on his own dime. He will then attend this summer the second stage of the academy on his own dime. He has to have someone sponsor him to do this, so we would sponsor him, and he will be a part-time police officer for us. Our expense will be uniform and outfitting for him. Other than that, we don't pay for his academy. That's pretty much most all of it.
So what was it, we provide the uniform and the.
Whatever other things he needs, whatever type of equipment he needs.
Uniform and equipment.
Yes.
Yeah, we've done this for a bunch of.
Yes, we've done this before for people attending the academy. We did it for Dusty when he, it's a different deal if we pay for the academy. And of course, this is a gentleman that will be another part-timer, and he will continue to work at this time for his job at JC firefighter, and will work for us as we can use him. Yep. I think did I just move that we
I
hire?
wasn't quite sure if that was a motion or not.
No, that was talking about. I move that we hire Mr. Florini as a part-time police officer under those conditions.
I'll second that.
Any discussion about that? And we vote, Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
And yes. I think there's only left from Joe, right?
Yeah, that's everything for the moment.
Anything from the clerk's office?
You guys set a budget workshop and make it.
Yep.
Tuesday, you go.
All right. Next item, set a budget workshop for next Monday at 7 PM. You here?
So moved. Do we need a motion? So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. We'll get a detailed schedule out. So for the department heads, all your budget sheets have to be in suit. Because I gotta make a spreadsheet to do the budget workshop.
Are we gonna get the sheets to fill out and send back?
Yeah.
Okay. yes.
So we're in a little turmoil here.
And then do we all have to be here Monday for this thing?
Yeah, we'll set up a schedule, so you don't have to be here all night.
Okay.
Because of all this craziness, some of this paperwork isn't available, so at the very least, look at last year's stuff and work off that and get something in.
Start there.
And I meant to tell you that the chief has done that exact same thing. He's
Yeah, he
gone
told
through
me.
last year's paperwork and tried to put something together, so we'd be moving along, because we're under the gun on this.
We're behind.
Yeah.
Too bad, I need to move here. The next thing,
Did we vote on the
no, we didn't
budget?
vote on that. Rusty?
Yes.
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
And yes. The next thing is to move the second meeting in June, because Monday, June 20th is the official holiday for Juneteenth, which all of our village employees now have off. So we're gonna move it to Tuesday, June 21st. Normally we do this in the annual meeting, scheduled meetings, but this one isn't. Yeah, we need a
I move that we move the board meeting from Monday, June 20th to the June 21st at 7 PM. for the aforementioned reason.
Here.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Rusty? You gave the day off.
No day off.
I'm gonna start calling everything Keith from now on.
I know.
Yes.
What is it? Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
And yes. All right, thing is to set a public hearing for the budget at that June 21st meeting. Assuming that we get it all done at the workshop next week.
I move that
We have to do it because we have to have it done by July 1st, so we have to do it.
I'm in the middle of a motion, sir.
I was talking before you even started.
No, you are, you're just deaf in that ear. I move that we set a public hearing for Tuesday, June 21st at 7 PM for 2022-23 budget year.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? We'll get it done. Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Next thing is transfer. $695 for pool repairs.
Say that again?
Fred just left.
Yes.
Transfer for pool repairs.
Oh, this is,
Turn it back to the agenda.
this is from, $695, I think. This was before we used the ARPA funds.
Right.
So-
It's for the piping repairs.
Right. We're just transferring it into the DPW budget to do the pool, or pay for the bill, I guess.
So it's ARPA repairs that are gonna pay for the pool?
Some of the pool.
Okay. Or ARPA money, yeah. Okay.
It's 695, right?
$695.
I motion to approve the transfer of $695 from the one budget line to the other for the pool repairs.
Second.
Any other discussion on that? Get the pool fixed up. It's
When's the
always the
pool
big
open?
question of the pool opening, it'll be the normal time, in the June crowded. It needs some repairs, piping and then a couple of pumps. So Fred's working on that. Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Yes. And we're looking for lifeguards, if everybody knows that.
Might be a good idea.
Yeah.
You don't want me to say that, trust me.
I'll let you give me an out the mouth.
Just wait till the end.
I can do that. All right, amend the motion, April 18th, part-time clerk at the village court.
I move to approve the hiring of Karen Wells as a part-time backup clerk on an as-needed basis for the court clerk at a rate of $15 per hour with no benefits.
Second.
Somehow that's different from the motion we did before.
Yeah, there's just
I don't know what we forgot. Any other discussion on that? Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
And yes. The next thing is this information. We, thanks to Ron's help, we submitted the village court audit. for this year.
So I know which one of you had tickets.
Not me.
It's not that in depth.
All right. Payment of bills. Everybody get them? Anybody have questions?
I had a couple, but I cleared them up with Rodney beforehand.
Yep, I had one, and I called Tim about it today, it's just straight.
And I move that we approve the payment of bills for May as presented by the clerk treasurer.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Yes. We got a couple of minutes here.
For the minutes, for the May 16th, I sent in a couple things, and one was a name correction for me, and then the other was the list of who was the EMT list. Yeah, and a different list was in the spot, so was it corrected and what?
I think I was waiting for Russ to give me the list of the EMT people. I listed everybody that they had.
Okay, so I see I have a thing here that just has 3 or 4 people. Is that-
Right.
Okay, that must have been correct.
So,
I had everybody.
okay, the people that we would have would be the captain, the co-captain, maybe the lieutenant, and the second lieutenant. All the rest were corporation officers. So you could put
It's
in there,
modified.
Okay, it's already done.
Yeah, it's corrected down here.
I don't know, does it have, tell me who has this real quick.
Page 5.
What?
He's got it.
I have it, but it's not on there. Could you read the officers off to me, please?
Page 5 of the minutes from,
Captain Paul Cole, co-captain Stephanie Cole, and secretary Becky Roden.
So it doesn't have the lieutenant and the second lieutenant on there. And I don't know about the secretary because the secretary is not an officer. So that, the secretary may be a corporate officer, the lieutenant and the second lieutenant are line officers.
Yeah.
So that's who I would expect to be on here.
I think Becky Roden is the secretary, and we were looking for the sergeant to be listed, right?
Lieutenant and second lieutenant.
And yeah, so we might have the wrong names.
How about we'll correct it.
Fix that up. Can we approve the minutes with that correction, with the correction of the officers? That'd be fine for me.
So,
With corrections.
yeah, with the corrections to the list.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the 16th.
Right.
So Laura and I
Yeah.
move those. Okay.
Any other discussion about those minutes, which was May 16th?
Did you read them yet?
Russ?
So we have the motion. Did everybody else read them and is ready?
I was good at the other than, I didn't know.
I'm gonna abstain them because I just haven't looked. So if there's 4 votes to pass them, I'm gonna abstain.
Rusty?
I'm abstaining.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
yes,
Minutes, May 2nd.
For those, I was supposed to send in the wording from the video, and I didn't watch the video yet, I didn't have the time, but I sent the wording in previously, so I'm just gonna, I can just send that in tomorrow, and we can approve it, if that's
How
okay.
about we approve contingent on Laura's sending in
Edits.
her edits.
Yeah. It's just be a word for word of what I said, and,
All right. We can do it.
okay.
So did you move that?
Yeah, so I'll motion to approve the minutes of the May 2nd meeting with, my one section.
Second?
All right, any other discussion on those minutes? Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
yes.
Yes. Okay. Trustee reports? Rusty?
Yes. I'd like to request that the village board approves allowing the hose team to have a fundraiser with the firehouse sub truck parked at Station 2, and it would be Monday, the 20th of June through Saturday, the 25th of June. Yep.
Thanks again.
Firehouse.
Yeah.
Subs, fundraiser for the hose team for the steamer house, parked at Station 2, Monday, June 20th, for 6 days through Saturday, June 25th.
There's a motion.
Yes?
Seconded by who?
Second.
Any discussion about it?
So,
Ask
so
away.
it's having the truck out on like a display. Last time they had like the fire truck, subs thing and stuff, so it's basically same idea. They're gonna sit there and have some.
This is that same exact people, that same fire truck looking thing, firehouse subs.
Okay, okay.
The sub truck.
Sub
Oh,
truck.
sub truck. I was thinking, you know how they got the steamer back and they were gonna be bringing it out and having it on display. I thought this was gonna be their first time bringing that out.
Submarine sandwiches for a fundraiser.
The sub truck and the steamer just like blended.
All of the steamers back, they may bring it out, because they did that the first time when the sub truck came, they did a practice thing with it.
Yeah, it'd be very nice. Yeah, how wonderful. So, yeah, I was the second on that. Yep.
I'll do that, although I left on my paperwork.
Any other discussion on the sub truck? Good stuff. Rusty?
Yes?
Ron? Yes. Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Yes.
Give me a second to write this down.
Everybody voted yes.
Thank you for waiting for me. Okay, this one's gonna, I'm a moron. I spent all day doing this and getting everything down exactly right, and now I left it back at the store. I brought everything else. So, the thing that I'm going to propose is that we amend, is Nate still on? That we amend our agreement with the hose company for the property we're allowing them to use for the steamer house. The Article 2 of that says that they can use 2 tax parcels of property. And when we originally talked to them about it, they were going to build this in a particular way, put the steamer house in a particular direction. They came back, didn't actually ask us specifically to change that and put it in sideways, but they did that, and we've probably seen a mock-up of that, which they also went to the zoning board and got approval from the zoning board for. So I want to amend the agreement with them to add parcels 1, 2, 8, 8, 7, 1, 6, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 8, 8, 7, 15. Those 2 parcels, one of the parcels is complete, one is part of parcel 15. And also in the original thing, it says 2 parcels, and it says complete parcel 16.2 and part of parcel 42. This one will add parcel 16.12 and part of parcel 15. And it will say approximately 100 feet from the line of our fire station 2 up North Avenue, and approximately 75 feet deep to the property, close to the property of Allied Technology. So I want to amend that, and I don't have it right here in front of me, but I believe that those are the numbers. And so we'll get the exact numbers. And I also want to, in that same phrase where we talk about they have the use of this property, that I had the document, but I don't have it. The last piece of the property when they come in will be the curved driveway. And then there's another 15 feet or so of green. And then that's where it starts that bank down in the stadium seating for the art park. So I will want to also amend in this that when they complete construction of this, they will no longer have control over that piece of the property from the driveway on, that is the grass and the stadium seat. We will maintain and have control of that last piece. And that will not be under their control because it will be part of our stadium seating for our art park. Am I making that kind of clear?
Have you been working with the NY about
I have not.
these motions?
I have not. I just spent all day on this by myself.
I don't see it on the agenda.
No, it's not on the agenda.
Rusty,
Yeah, Dave.
this is bullshit.
Now we're talking.
No, but I mean, if there's an amendment to the contract that's been approved by the village board,
Yep.
like what you've just described, we need more than just a motion. We need a written amendment to it outlining everything that you've just talked about. I don't have a problem per se. I think that what needs to be authorized is an amendment to the contract, and that amendment be prepared and presented to the full village board outlining everything that you just said. I mean, there's a couple things that, like the way that Article 2 or Section 2, however you phrased it, to the agreement is written, description of property, it gives them the exclusive right to use the property. And, you know, that was defined as the a portion of tax map ID number, the first one and the second.
Right.
I mean, I think what we need to do is more narrowly define that to the site plan that they presented and was approved by the other village boards potentially. However, we've done that, right? So
You want to do that with me?
yeah, we should sit down, talk through it, make sure Pat Gavin understands what it encompasses, and then make sure. Okay.
Okay, you want to do it with me, or maybe you want me to do it? You want to do it with me, and I'll dig, I've got the stuff at my store, I just forgot it, and I'll do it with you, and and the reason to do this is because we didn't give them all that property, and so I just wanted to tighten that up. We need to make that correct.
That's a very valid thing to do. And so, assuming that the rest of the village board is in agreement, right? Because if the rest of the village board says they shouldn't have gone on to the other property, then, I mean, that of course is a problem.
You bet. We understand that we'd have to, yeah. This was going to be a motion I was going to make. The village board would have had to approve said motion, and now we'll do it in a more formal manner.
How much more footage is that they're taking?
Well, it's hard to describe because the document didn't actually, we didn't do it correctly. It didn't actually give the amount that we wanted to give them. We had an amount that we thought we were going to give them based on some, the fence here and the property line there. And so the thing we wrote was actually smaller than that, which wasn't in the intention. Now this is larger than that. I'm trying to think how many it was supposed to be before, and I wish I had the things with me, but I don't. So I don't know exactly how many more feet it is. It just changes it from the.
You're adding more in width along North Avenue and also in depth.
The depth is going to be the same.
Yeah.
I just wanted to outline it because it was vague in the document about how far back they were going to go. So that's why I put some numbers in there. And then up North Avenue farther, because they're going to now have a driveway that comes in, turns around, goes into the steamer house, which will be sideways. So that's a bigger piece of property. Before that was, the driveway was going to go, steamer house was going to be this way, going into the property, and they were going to go right into it, no curve around driveway. And also, they weren't necessarily going to have that stadium seating and stuff at the end of it that will be part of the art park, or however we choose to say that.
Yeah.
So I'll get you.
My question is, why can't they do the same thing from the other side of the building? You've got the parking lot there in front of the fire station that they could pull right in there.
I don't know. We didn't do a great job of deciding exactly what we're going to let them do. We kind of just half did something, and they took their schematic to the zoning board, and they got approval to do that. And we didn't step up and say, that's not exactly what we thought we were going to do with you. So the question, why couldn't they come in from in front of the fire station?
Yeah, on
I'm
the
trying to
opposite
fix.
side of the building,
And what?
on the opposite side of the
steamer house.
Right.
I'm trying to
Well,
think.
it butts right up against the parking lot in front of the fire station.
I'll show you the schematic of what they did and presented. I'll show all this stuff. The way they had it laid out, if you did that, the steamer house would have to be right up to the sidewalk. In
I'm
order
not
to,
saying,
You know what I'm
I'm
talking
not saying from North Avenue, I'm saying from the parking lot of the fire station.
correct,
And
but
that's on.
yes, if you do that, and the steamer house was, I'd draw you something here, and the steamer house was sideways, horizontal this way, which is the way they want to put it in, you would then, to get that size of that steamer house in, you could, maybe if there's enough room there on the parking lot, there's not a real full parking lot there, there's just a small amount of room between the fire station and the road. You'd have to put the steamer house right at the sidewalk. You couldn't put it farther back in the property with the ways that we're gonna have they're gonna have a big flame and thing and a plaza in front of it. So it's gonna go farther back in the property. To do it, to come in that way, you just would have to put it right on the walk.
So Rusty, I guess my
Yeah.
question would be, are the plans that were submitted to the planning board and or zoning board different from the plans that were submitted to the village board when the village board approved the lease?
Yes.
To be honest with you, they didn't give us a final plan on their whole thing, officially give it to us, and we didn't officially look at it and officially say, this is it, good to go, we give you that property. We didn't do that. It was kind of inferred. We didn't do it. That's why I'm trying to solidify it up now, because we didn't actually.
Well, right, and looking back at what was signed, it was 99 North Ave and a portion, and this is what you said, right? And a portion of 2 tax map ID numbers. And there were plans that were submitted to the board, or at least sketches showing what was intended at that time. And so I think, Fran, your questions are correct and great, right? What are they talking about? And so, Rusty, I hear you describing it with words. I think what would be appropriate is for the village board to be presented with whatever the drawings are that show what they're talking about. Because if it extends onto anything other than a portion of those 2 tax map ID numbers and the 99 North Ave, then that means it requires an amendment to the agreement that we have, which is fine. Again, we can do it.
That's what I said.
Yeah. It's just, Fran's got questions. I don't know if anyone else has questions. It's just that's the appropriate way to show it to them.
I'm sad that I forgot the piece, so you could see the schematic and the look and the thing, but I just grabbed things and I don't have it with me tonight. I had it.
So maybe you and Nate and Pat work out that amendment, and we'll have Pat next time present the changes and the overall plan.
The village and the host team have to both agree to change the agreement to the amendment. Those are the rules that we make. So yeah, I'm happy to work with Nate. Pat already knows. I'm happy to have Pat work with Pat and bring something back. Yeah.
Picture I saw it.
I was almost going to run back while we were doing a bunch of talking and grab all that stuff. Spent all day on it. Okay, Nate, sometime you and I. We'll do it. That good? Nope.
Ron?
As part of a Marvin Park cleanup day, which maybe should have been a Marvin Park repair day. Nothing, Mike?
Should have brought a hammer.
What's that?
That was part of Marvin Park cleanup day, but it should have been a Marvin Park repair day.
You should see how bad some of the benches are.
I know under the pavilions, we sat on some, and it was like
There's
playing
one
on
in the
Tina
one
Turner.
pavilion, if you put your foot on it, the whole thing moves. If you get too much weight on one side, thing's coming down. And then there's other ones where the bars underneath are just cracked.
Sorry to say, I did not look inside the kids' thing. I don't know whether there was kids up there, and I thought it'd be weird if a little short bald guy was up there with him. But thank you for bringing that to our attention, Mike.
I'll let you see what was
We can't have that on record. Apparently, it's not appropriate.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Is it a Holden Caulfield sort of, the Catcher in the Rye slogan? You know, he saw some words in the park.
It's definitely a bunch of derogatory things encouraging kids to do
Things
less
they
than
shouldn't be
stellar
doing.
behaviors.
Oh, my gosh.
Eyeballs and noses?
Yeah.
So to speak.
I see eyeballs and noses.
Yeah.
Huh.
And that's all over the little kids' play.
Okay,
But it's not count all the stuff.
all right,
And there's the nails sticking up out of the seat of the
okay.
Yeah.
benches.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, the immediate thing, that we just remove those tables that are apparently dangerous, or?
Really, I have to repair them.
That's like I want someone to.
No.
I know we sat on them when we were playing teeter-totter.
Yeah.
Figure it out now.
Yeah, if they're unsafe, we should take them out, fix them, take them back.
Today, the safety inspector for Admiral was supposed to be here, everybody was sent home. And he's supposed to send us an email, of course we didn't get
The
it.
kids thing was.
So I finally got hold of him when he was sick.
Yeah.
Repair plaza.
So luckily he didn't show up today, so maybe we can fix it before.
Yeah.
So that's a good heads up.
And I had numerous conversations with various customers that came in about the art park and what they'd like to see, just getting an outside look in. And I was thinking that we need to, especially since the annual meeting coming up soon, is add the fees of the village to the agenda at some point, so we can start discussing how to increase some of those.
We're supposed to do that.
Because they are extremely low for the time we're in.
Damn it.
And it was, same thing that was brought up, a lot of the code violations throughout the village, the high grass and other things. I don't know if I go to liquid that or.
That's where you start. Because there's a process for them all.
Right, and it's getting pretty out of hand. I mean, Chestnut alone has like 4 or 5 houses.
Yeah, I'm starting to. Give them all the details on each one and what's going on.
Yeah, it'd be nice if that one on the corner of Spencer got mowed before. Strawberry Festival.
I mean, that is, it's not just grass, it's like a jungle around the house.
Well, here's the problem, Freddie already talked to the county of the building. He's asked the county to take care of it, he said, oh, we'll take care of it. It's the county.
And I
I
had
talked to people at the county, he said he'd take care of it, so let's, maybe we'll contact them tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll take care of it. If not, we'll do it, we'll build the county.
there are like some broken windows and stuff, so I know other houses, they board those up, especially on the first floor. So there's no, or less negative behaviors going on inside.
Well, it's dangerous.
And I did have a customer come in and ask if the village could create an app highlighting where shopping, parking, events, things that are coming up. I know there's a county app I directed them to, but they said it wasn't as focused as they'd like it, as far as like where our parking lots are and things like that. I just told them I would bring it up at the board.
Let's get with tourism, figure out what's there, what we can do to.
The tourism app is very good for describing what's coming up and different things,
Right.
but like as far as where our parking is and stuff, at least till we get the signage in next year.
Good idea.
I had one of the zoning board members ask me if they could participate in parades and stuff. So I didn't see why not, but I would bring it up.
Where's our ass?
I mean, because they are representatives of the village.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to answer them, but
Call Mike.
not as though, I don't know if he will or not, but he asked me if it was a potential thing.
Right after the horses.
With the shovels.
We don't have a banner that says zoning board.
But, so I brought everything up. That is the conclusion of my report.
Laura?
OHBC is gonna meet, or no, they just met.
They
I'm
just-
confused,
yeah.
they just met.
Yes,
It's
they
not
did.
the first, yeah. And, we we also had a planning board meeting and a zoning board meeting last month, and they had so it was a question on the law that is the issue, or a question of the zoning came up, and so that the zoning board meeting is still open for public comment when it opens up at the next meeting. And the dates were gonna change. And so it hasn't come out with official notice of when those meetings are, but it's not going to be the last Tuesday and Wednesdays that it had been. And so just look for that, or I'll announce it at the next meeting when they are, when it's confirmed, when those dates are.
Well, that needs to be publicized also, right?
Yeah, and they will, the offices will do that when they put out the notice to the dates to all the members, and they'll put it in the paper. But I also like to say when they're going. So anyways, we'll just note that the date is probably gonna change and that they're coming up.
Okay.
That's it for me. Oh, Rusty, did you remember another thing that you were gonna bring up under your report?
Yes, I've got a couple more things. I was gonna wait for everybody else to finish. Which thing are you?
Go to Fran and then back to.
Sidewalks?
Okay. I have no report on the EMS. I mean, Captain did a good job, and there's a handout. So,
Yeah, I like the written reports.
new captain, yeah. On the cemetery committee, well, they had their last work day in the cemetery at the same time as you were at Marvin Park, and you know how the weather was. So I mean, we had some volunteers there in the morning, and then by afternoon,
We at least have a pool in there.
yeah, it was bad. So I mean, we didn't get anything done that afternoon. What we had been planning on working on monuments in the GAR section. Tina and Dale Utter came to show us what to do. They're conservators for monuments. And at any rate, they have volunteered to give their services to the village to work on repairing those monuments in the GAR section, which is very gracious of them.
Who is it that's doing this?
Tina and Dale Utter, Utter. They'll be working on them over the summer. I mentioned to Fred, and John's gonna be talking to Fred too. They do require some filter and some pea gravel to work on those, so the village needs to be providing that. And, yeah, the cemetery committee talked about some budget needs, which John is gonna talk once again with Fred about. And so our next meeting for the cemetery committee is, oh, yeah, I don't have my act together either.
Is your stuff at my store?
Yeah. I'll tell you next time.
Okay.
It's the last. Yeah, I'll email you a copy. The last, well, it'd be Tuesday, right? Because the last Monday is
Juneteenth.
So it'd be,
Committee, I guess.
so, that's all for now. Thanks.
Back to Rusty.
Which
Round two.
thing were you thinking of? Tell me.
You just
Oh, I got four things, so.
motions that you were gonna, you had some.
All right, well, let me do the first thing.
Okay.
Nate won't like this. Marvin Park. We have a passed by resolution, not by the code law, rules on Marvin Park reservations. And they're on a form, Marvin Park reservation form. And we need, this is my opinion, to, and we've talked about this, change some of these rules because of the fact that the conditions and the prices, et cetera, are way out of line. So I would like us to suspend the rules on this. I don't know if that's the right term, on this Marvin Park reservation form. There's 15 things here that are listed. Thing number one is the fee is $250 a day. And that is way out of line for some of the things that are going on in that park. Somebody wants to have that whole park for a commercial event to make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $250 a day is not appropriate. So I want us to not do that. 3 is deposit. The deposit is not nearly enough for if somebody's going to potentially do certain kinds of things in there. The deposit is $600. They could cost $600. It could cost $600 a damage. The kids with the spray paint cost $600 a damage. That's not enough. That needs to change. There's a fee for potentially for utilities, electric and water, but it doesn't mention what it should be. Number 10 and 11, it says police are, depending on the size of the crowd, police protection may be required at user expense. That needs to be more specific. And parking in the park in the code book has a whole lot of restrictions, and people continually park in the park where they're not supposed to. You're only supposed to park in the park on a parking lot or a parking space. You're not supposed to at all go in the infield. No one's supposed to be able to park in the infield, and et cetera, et cetera.
There aren't any marked spaces.
Yeah.
There are some places for parking, but they're not on any grass or any of those kinds of things. Whether marked spaces on concrete, not so much. But we have places where it's fairly obvious that it is parking along this, up by the playground, along the side of the road there. We'll call it a gravel.
Yeah.
Those kinds of places are the parking places.
But it's not defined, there's no signs there, it says parking.
That's correct.
I've never parked there during Strawberry Fest. Where do they park during Strawberry?
So there, even though there are not things that make it easy for you to know where it is parking, the code makes it specific where there is not parking. And that's grass, infield, et cetera, et cetera. Can't do that. Now, the problem there becomes if there's a giant affair and there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cars. Somebody had an affair there last summer, giant commercial affair. Boy, did they like that. And they charged people a big old chunk of money to park in the park on places they weren't supposed to park. So my intention here is for us not to rent that park under these circumstances.
I assume we're looking at particularly for-profit.
Well, that could be part of what we do. A commercial, I put down commercial use is different than a family use or nonprofit use. The whole park is problematic. You want, actually, even the fair, when they have the whole park, you can't have the playground and the pool and the other parts of the park. But when we're renting this park out, do they have the whole park? So, yeah, so this is, in my mind, this is way out of date, and I want us not to do it.
Yeah, so I'd like to see that, honestly, got rid of, made void, and then going forward, like from today until we figure out what happens in the end, any sort of event or rental of the whole park would require a contract between the board and the renter.
And so
Which would be negotiated on an as-needed basis.
in the interim, it would be negotiated as needed, and I want us to cancel this set of regulations.
So, to get this straight, nobody can rent the park.
They can, they just have to come to us.
They can't run it under these circumstances. We would have, they would, I see your head going.
I'm just saying, if somebody wants to rent it tomorrow, what are you gonna do?
Well, they can't rent it tomorrow because you have to rent it 30 days ahead.
That's what I'm saying.
Even on that, we gotta do 30 days.
You got to do it 30 days ahead.
Give us a month to
Next
negotiate.
board meeting and at least to square something away.
I didn't say that they couldn't rent the park, I said they couldn't rent it under these circumstances. And the mayor just said that they would have to negotiate with the village board on a individual basis while we come up with new regulations. That's what I'm talking about doing.
What if, just for asking, we, on that sheet, when they apply,
Yep.
are they specifically listing that they wanna, pick which pavilion?
They're renting the whole park. This is not a pavilion, this is the entire Marvin Park.
Right, so, could we allow for like, Fred, you know how, the office approves these applications to rent them out? If they're allowed to do it just for, homeowners or just only the pavilions and not the whole park?
It's a separate.
Yeah, the pavilion is a separate one. It's not on that form.
So there is a pavilion rental.
I do not know that there is a pavilion rental form, I'm not sure. This is what I got from Meg, she said this is the thing that we had.
So this is the only thing that residents have to fill out to.
I do not know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I would think this would not relate to residents. This is the whole park as an entity, not just subsections of it. Like even the nonprofits don't generally rent the whole park. They want the ability to be in the park.
Yeah, you can reserve the pavilions, I mean.
Right.
Then that, if that's doable and we have another methodology for that, I'm not talking about that.
Well, I don't know how it's done right now.
I'll take your word for it that there's a way to rent a pavilion, I'm not talking about.
Separate bank. You probably, I don't know if there's a fee. If it was.
I'm sure it's not a $600 deposit,
No,
$250.
I want to say it was like 50 bucks or something. But that's when we had bathrooms there. And I don't think they've been charging fees since we don't have bathrooms.
Okay. So this
Yep.
is, so, we're not talking about the pavilion rentals for right now. This is
No,
like
not
for
for like
anything for
graduation.
these big,
Because I know they're.
anything.
Correct, we're not
else.
talking about a small pavilion rental for a family to have a 20 person picnic. We're not talking about that. We're talking about renting the park.
This is like, we're gonna have a carnival in the park.
Let's say maybe a monster truck thing shows up,
Right,
paid,
yeah.
say $8,000 to the people across the river and gave us $250. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I
So
want-
residents won't have issues with having picnics in the park.
No.
It'll just be,
And there may be.
know about anything big coming in.
What's up with the circus?
The circus, to the best of my knowledge,
Fair board thing.
has rented from the fair board the old baseball field across from the old junior high that the agricultural society owns. And they're going to put their circus there.
I don't know where they're parking, but they have not asked us to rent the park.
They have not rented, they've not attempted to rent the park for parking, which is another thing that I believe that we should have. You wanna park in there, once again, you can't just fill that thing up with cars and rip up ball fields and put it on grass and whatever, you can't do that. So that's another thing we need to figure out what we're gonna let people do on parking, but. And what kind of fee there would be for that?
The only upcoming thing parking wise,
Strawberry Festival.
Strawberry Fest uses parking.
That's
Boy Scouts.
fundraiser for, I heard Girl Scouts are doing it this year.
One of the scout groups is.
So we should probably, oh boy.
That's like,
I'm
for our next meeting.
I'm expecting
Yeah.
50,000 people this year.
Yeah.
It's gonna be more than years past, because it's been
We had 2
hiatus.
years.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, if you suspend that suspending the parking in the Strawberry Festival from.
You know,
I
they-
can't hear you.
They didn't fill that out. They don't usually fill that out either.
We
We're
probably,
just gonna do it.
on that kind of a thing, we probably we vote to
This is
waive
a-
these various things for that particular group.
Because of charity, it's usually for the scouts.
I'm saying, I would assume that that's how that happens. They don't do this, we vote to waive this form and this fee. And which we certainly can do, it's done by resolution.
So we don't have another regular board meeting before the Strawberry Festival.
Which actually doesn't really have anything to do with this. I mean, that is another issue, but that,
Right.
but I mean, it's not directly related to what I'm trying to do with this.
Yeah, we're trying to just change this from, using that form to negotiate contract with the board based on that specific amendment. Right. So even like the scout parking thing, we can still negotiate a contract since they pay no money.
Where's my at?
So that is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, you brought if something gets damaged during the parking, who's liable for that?
That's a good question.
I mean, because there's a lot of water lines and whatever else in these grass fields. I mean, I don't know if that's how they had the water leak in the first place over there. It's
That
all
is a good question.
speculation, but I mean, these are things that if we're gonna do stuff like that for nonprofits, there's gotta be a safety net in there.
Right. Yeah, they're not that. In the contract, you have to have insurance or whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, yes.
No, you're good. But, and we are talking about a couple different things at once, but the, some of these things we all get along and we do things and we don't follow every single little tweak on everything. That's perfectly fine. But it's not a bad idea that when things come up that we tighten some things up. And one of those things is the Strawberry Festival parking. So we should, and that's one of the things why when I'm talking to that Strawberry Festival, I say, what do you want to do? And give us all your plan and stuff. That's a thing that should be in there. We should be approving that they can use this under these conditions for this parking. And they fill that thing right up. So where I'm not happy about the infield and driving across the track and going on the infield and going on the ball fields, which our code says you're not supposed to. Yeah, so that is a good thing for us to think about and tonight because it's coming. Let's finish this piece first. Are you folks interested in doing what I recommended, which is to?
Well, I'm sure it needs to be modified, but I mean, I don't think we should let it go for months and months.
No, we should not, but I want to do it tonight because I think that there are some people interested in buying our park from us and doing whatever they blasted please and paying us next to nothing for it.
We still need some sort of contract.
Right. Correct.
And so what I'm saying is we can't wait for months to modify that.
Okay.
It needs to be done fairly soon.
Yep. I'm with you. I just, tonight, and Nate will tell us if we can't do it, tonight I want to void this, by resolution, void this as the way we rent the park. We no longer rent the park in this manner. This is not the official way. It wasn't on the agenda.
And we negotiate the terms on which we rent that park.
Until we come up with newer rules, we will negotiate. Nate, were you listening to all that crap?
Yeah, no, and Rusty, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I'm familiar with some of the problems that have arisen at the park in the past, right?
Yeah.
And so a motion to, I think you used the word rescind the prior regulations and authorization for use of the park for the entire park, not the pavilions,
Yep.
the entire park.
Yep, correct.
And to require any future applicants for use of the entire park to apply to the village board for permission to utilize the entire park.
Yep.
And I mean, I'd like to get into more detail on that at some point, but if your concern is today somebody can utilize the entire park with very little oversight or restriction, or consideration at least, do that now. Next village board meeting, we can clean that up with a little more detailed resolution.
And I will make a resolution that we rescind the previous board action about the rental of the Marvin Park. And whatever that language was going to be, that an applicant in short term will have to negotiate with the village board for that permission. That sound about right?
Yeah. and the application, not less than 30 days prior to their intended use or something like that. Just to set a time frame. I anticipate at the next village board meeting, we will have a more detailed resolution for the village board to consider.
Yep. So they must apply to the board with 30 days in advance. And this will not, and has been rescinded or whatever the wording was.
Is that the motion?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Any discussion about that? Russ?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we just officially put that on the agenda for next meeting?
Sure. Well, and that was hard to put things on the agenda today because I'm not picking on anybody, but people are busy.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, they didn't want to hear me call up 67 times about 100 agenda
Can't call
things.
here.
Can't even call.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm going to hold off on a couple other things. The parking committee has been speaking about some parking changes, et cetera, and we will get to you on those as soon as we have made a better decision on what we want to recommend. Is that some of the stuff we're talking about? Shall we, well, let's do that now. The world doesn't end. Somebody on the sidewalk tonight.
Oh, 9:40, come on.
Thank you.
Okay. That's all the trustees.
I do have one question, Mayor, about the open meetings law, and have we done anything about coming up with the village's position on that? So, I mean, you said the date was moved to later in June, as far as
Right.
when that has to be implemented, but if we don't have a law, the way I read it is, at the date, whichever it is in June, we can no longer have video.
So we can have it, just our trustees can't participate, can't vote from there. So we would have to be in person. The public could be virtual, Nate could probably still be virtual, our department heads could be virtual. Just we would have to be here, is the way it reads. And we can obviously make a law to change that.
I may be incorrect, but when Fran and I attended the NICOM and found some of this stuff out, there were 3 levels. And so to continue to do the levels we're doing required a resolution. There was another level, this is the emergency level. Actually, emergency level doesn't even require the resolution. The in-between level requires a resolution, in which case the board members can be at home or someplace, they can vote on the thing, but that home has to be open to anybody to come to. And we had to pass.
And they have to be on video.
And it has to be video, can't be phone, it has to be video, see them. This is my understanding.
That was always the thing, but nobody ever did it.
Well, I actually think that they even had a way to do the audio piece, but either way, that's the resolution that she's talking about that we would have to have if we want to. If the emergency's over, which I don't know yet. Anybody know?
Yeah, so
Nate, you know?
the emergency is over soon, or at least the deadline that was provided by the state law. I think it's June 8th or 9th. And it's not a resolution that you would need to do, it's a local law that you would need to do to authorize video conferencing on a permanent basis under extraordinary circumstances for not less than 2 members of your board to attend a meeting remotely where the public is not allowed to attend. The current state law prior to the recent enactment allowed members of the boards to attend remotely so long as you advertised the physical location where those members were attending from, and the public could also attend from those locations. So, Rusty's description of the NICOM training having 3 levels of participation and, 3 types of levels here. I think it's accurate. I haven't thought about it that way. But that is correct. Currently, you've got your first 2. If you want to do all 3, you pass a new local law.
So Nate, if that does, well, it's going to expire before our next meeting, but when that expires, what that affects as far as the virtual meeting that we run goes is that our trustees can't participate online until we pass that local law.
Correct.
Pass the law.
Or if we advertise their house location and people are able to go hang out in the living rooms.
I think we still had to pass the law.
Not for the one where public can participate from, your home or wherever you're physically located. That's always been allowed by the open meeting law. If you want to use the version, then you need a local law.
So we need a public hearing for that law?
Yeah.
I will bring you the information from ICOM.
Yeah. But we need to draft the law first. I know there's like template laws.
Yeah, they're not very complicated.
Very straightforward. The big thing is for the board to agree on the policy that you utilize to authorize this. The local law is simple. It's the policy and what you mean. What does extraordinary circumstances mean in your particular circumstances? And then how do you go about, what are the requirements for video and audio of a person? Do you have anything in particular that you want to utilize or describe that?
I guess think about that. So for the next meeting, for the board to participate, you have to be here until we pass it.
Can we set a public hearing for a local law for it for the next meeting?
So there's not enough.
We've got a lot of crap going on the next meeting.
I would say the first July meeting.
We got a lot of stuff going on
Yeah,
the
I know.
next meeting.
The next one's the
Budget,
budget.
that'll be the budget.
Budget hearing and, another.
Hosting stuff.
First one of July would be the 5th, I think the 4th is a Monday.
Yeah, probably.
So, they may yet extend the emergency. I mean, they continue to do it.
True. I mean, they usually do it the night before it ends.
So it was a June 6th or so, and then it was extended after that, another bunch here. I don't remember how many more days after that, after June 6th. So it's still going. The emergency is now. They may do it some more. They may not.
So our first July meeting would be the 5th. I mean, I think we could have something put together by then.
As Rusty mentioned, I mean, the form local law is very simple, easy to put together. To me, the big thing is just the policy that you folks decide on, because there are some potential differences that you might have about what constitutes quote unquote extraordinary circumstances or allowing someone to attend remotely.
In fact, that might have been one of the terms. It was an emergency, there was extraordinary, there were three terms. That might be one of the exact terms.
From the government, I'm here to help.
Okay. We'll go with
Snuck in from the dark.
From the dark side.
All right, communications. Nothing.
Holy smokes.
Mayor's report. No formal report. Just a side note, we moved successfully from DPW and the clerk's office to here. It's still really screwed up.
Welcome, technology.
Yeah, the physical move went pretty good. We're also switching IT companies at the same time. Phones are messed up, nobody can call us. They're working on it every day, don't worry.
Communications.
Yeah, that's why there's no communications. Last minute. So if you're trying to get a hold of us, I have cell phone.
walk in, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So Laura, did they have to bust
As far as
in?
walking in,
Did
we're
they have to
still
bust in
figuring
your
out
store?
the doors.
Did they have to bust your door in?
Anyway, we're working through the growing pains, but.
Well,
building's
during
nice.
regular working hours, that front door is gonna be unlocked, right?
Yeah, and somehow there's
Yeah.
a way to unlock the other one through the computer, which isn't working right now. And we'll have fancy key fobs that beep the doors in.
Wait,
Which
the
aren't working right now either.
the door to the offices and the buildings is gonna be unlocked?
No, the front door is.
You have the front door to get into the building for every person that wants to come here and do business. It's gonna be unlocked?
Should be,
Yeah,
should be open to the public.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Only if you grab the left.
We can set the right one to be open, but we just don't know how.
Okay.
I messed with it for 2 hours.
Most people are right-handed, right?
What else we got, Mike?
I called for training twice, they didn't call back. Anyway, other than that, the building was beautiful, we're starting to decorate it.
Thank you.
Interior designers,
Oh, did you do the clock like the other one in your office?
yep, I hung that yesterday.
How long did that take to get here?
What, we didn't have money for
Amazon
the,
Prime.
we didn't have money for the big one?
That is a big one,
Okay.
I don't think I can get much bigger.
Yeah.
So is the clerk's office empty now on Main Street, or?
Yeah. Just, we have one computer set up that works, we got the payrolls, right? So we left everything.
Probably appreciate that.
One computer that works.
Everything that works is still back over there.
That one computer.
One computer and a chair and a desk.
Sergeant Schultz in the little shack.
Yeah, it's tough to put all.
What I'm leading to, I guess, is when will we be able to put that one on the market?
Pretty soon.
Building?
I'd say next week, but we don't need it after tomorrow. Yeah,
When you talk with the realtor.
Yeah.
yeah, we should get it on the market, so.
There's the next purchase for you, Mike.
Yeah. Be
I
coming
think
up.
he's ready to offer 20 grand for it right now.
Better see what we're gonna list it for you.
What else you got, Mike?
I don't know if I can turn that into a living space.
There's no parking.
Debbie, you got anything?
Ample parking in the downtown area.
Just one other thing about Marvin Park, when I was over there yesterday, those water pump things that are by the pavilions, one of those was up, water just pouring right out of it.
Oh, yeah, 'cause
So I
fixed them, which means.
Shut it off, but it probably should be locked.
Yeah. We were fixing them, and they're all fixed, which means they work, but they should be locked out.
Yeah, none of the ones I saw were locked. So.
Last thing we need is a $10,000 water bill.
Yeah. What happened with all these $20,000 cameras?
Apparently, people are breaking them.
I can watch it on my phone.
The police have them in their cars.
They do.
But if we put a $100,000 gate up, that'll stop them.
Give us something else to vandalize.
Okay, any other public comment?
Teresa? Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you online.
Good night, Nate.
Thanks, Nate.
Ciao.
Night.
I do.